We're live.
Hey, hey, hey. So, if you think if we would have pushed everything back, that we could have saved ourselves some stress and maybe even some money?
I don't know. We definitely could have saved ourselves some stress. But every day that we spend in the United States, sweetheart, seems to me that just cost us a boatload of money.
It does. The United States is just too damn expensive.
It's expensive. Hey, y'all, this is
And
Halisi.
this is Rick. Welcome to our Black Utopia.
So, who is our special guest today?
Today, our special guest is Chrishan Wright. Chrishan is the creator of Blaxit Global YouTube channel and online community.
As well as podcast.
Yes.
She has been planning for this since 2017, and y'all know how long we've been planning it, right?
Yeah.
But first, if you are new to our channel, on our channel, we talk about money, travel, and retiring abroad as we build generational wealth. And if you don't know, about 6 years ago, Rick and I got close to retirement age, start creeping up, and our finances looked crazy. Our savings account looked cray. It was piddly, right?
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, we started getting our financial act together, and we went from negative 22,000 to over 800,000 in net worth. If any of that sounds interesting to you, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when we drop a new video or when we go live, like we're doing right now.
Yes.
So, without further ado, should we bring on our special guest?
Let's bring her on.
We're going to talk about, right?
The travel influencer.
She is a travel
She's
influencer.
An influencer.
That's right.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about all things Portugal as well as how to plan to move abroad. So here we go. And she's taking her sip.
She's got that sip in.
I did. You know,
hey,
it's only water, y'all.
Right? So we introduced you, but why don't you introduce yourself? Because no one can introduce you as well as you can.
Oh my gosh, I am so honored to be here, first and foremost. So I just wanted to say that on our Black Utopia. So for those of you who do not know me, I'm Chrishan Wright. I am the founder of Blaxit Global and the host of the Blaxit Global podcast. Blaxit Global exists to empower and inspire members of the African diaspora to pursue a life abroad.
I love it. And so let's just start at the beginning, and then we will say hello to the folks who are in the chat.
Yes, I see them.
Yeah, let us know where you're logging in from. So let's start at the beginning. When did you know that you did not want to live in the United States for your whole life?
True answer is when I was a little girl growing up in the Bronx in Co-op City, I used to journal and say that my life's plan was when I turned 26, I was going to be a corporate lawyer living in New Zealand. So
wow.
How a little Black girl in the Bronx who had never been outside of the Bronx at that time started to fantasize about living in New Zealand, and I would go and get library books, and I had a globe in my room. I remember that. And my mom to this day still remembers, like, you in New Zealand. So the truth is, it's been on my heart for a long time.
Wow.
I don't even think I knew as a little girl what I'd never even heard of New Zealand.
I just knew what was down the block somewhat.
So why New Zealand?
I don't even know. It's hard for me to think back. And it's funny, as I'm starting to clear out some things in my garage, I found some journals, and I know there's some things at my mom's house. I don't know what appealed to me. I don't know if it was something in school. That part I don't recall. But I knew that a life abroad seemed very interesting. Seemed that it would be very different than, growing up in New York City and, taking mass transit and all of that stuff. And, I had a great childhood in that respect at Co-op City at that time and all my friends. But it wasn't until much later in life, unfortunately, until I was able to make my dream of going to New Zealand a reality.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so in 2017, after many years, many summers, hanging out on the Jersey Shore, And I had been divorced for, gosh, close to a decade at that point. And I would be like, oh, maybe one day I'll meet a man and we'll go abroad and, go to New Zealand. And I was walking along the beach, and I can remember that day, clear as day, in 2016, that summer. And I'm like, what? Chrishan, snap out of it. Like, you are who you've been waiting for. And I went home that day and I pulled my computer out and I bought the ticket to New Zealand.
Wow.
Just like that.
Just like that. And the funny thing about this story is, I'm sure you have the same, right? You're so green when you go anywhere, but really abroad. You're so green that first time. And so I was trying to like remember things that, from when I was a child and all this stuff. And now when I look back at that trip, it was fabulous. I had the time of my life. And I thought I was going to like lay on the beach for 2 weeks. I did not. I wound up driving, and they drive on the other side of the road. I wound up driving cross country. I hiked a volcano. I'm afraid of heights. I kayaked. I don't know how to swim. I rode a horse on the beach. I was just doing all of these things. And I wouldn't say rediscovering who I was. I was discovering aspects about my personality and who I am that I had never even been confronted with before. And, I went and I met the Maori people, and I just felt really at peace. And that trip was transformational in so many ways because it was the first time I had been seen as me, right? Like, not, I was so fearful of like, what is it going to be like, traveling solo? What is it going to be like as a Black woman traveling there? Like, I had all of this armor, mental armor.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like I said about the greenness, like I remember I was lugging 2 big old luggage pieces, and I was gone like 17 or 19 days. But I was like, oh my gosh, and, I kept in contact with my kids, and we worked out the time zone difference. But now I travel much lighter physically and mentally. But yes, that was the trip that changed everything, and I came back the day before I was to fly back. I broke down. I cried because I did the thing. I did the thing that was on my heart for decades. And I brought myself to the place I'd always wanted to go. And for my first trip and for my first solo trip, I made my own dreams come true. So that changed everything.
I love it.
It really is transformational. It's like, oh my God, you do it, you're out there, and like you said, you kind of really rediscover yourself
Mm-hmm.
and the things that you can do and will do and won't do.
Yes.
And it just, you're liberated. It
Mm-hmm.
just feels great.
Yes.
How we were not liberated in our first international trip. So our first true international trip was to South Africa.
I know where you're going with that.
Wow.
We had so much luggage.
Luggage.
Your
And
luggage had luggage.
We needed bags for the bags.
and we were there for a month. There were 3 of us, but still.
Yeah.
But still. We had so much luggage, and it was overweight because I wasn't paying attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
And they gave us a pass on charging us. So I didn't learn my lesson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't
You
learn
feel
my
the pain
lesson.
yet.
I did not feel the pain. And so we did it again. Well, we y'all have heard this story, so I'm not going to tell that. But yeah, South Africa was our first one, and yeah, we overpacked too.
Yeah.
We overpacked too. So you have been dreaming about New Zealand.
Yeah.
Since you were an itty bitty girl
Mm-hmm.
with your pigtails.
Mm-hmm.
And you went.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to relocate to New Zealand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the plan. So what I wound up doing was researching how much would be, would I need to move there? So like many countries, they'll have like a means test. You have to have X amount of money to come in. And so I had looked up the number, did the conversion to US, and that's when I set my goal. I was like, okay, I know my youngest rather is going to graduate college or high school in 2023 and go to college. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got, 5 or 6 years, and looked at what the number was and then set a goal and then set benchmarks that, for on paper, this is what I need to have.
What was the number? Do you remember?
I think it was, well, at the time, I should,
Right,
because,
right,
there's
right.
different visa types. At the time, I didn't realize when I was looking at it that it was the retirement visa and that I wouldn't have passed age-wise to get in. So I think the number today is like 750,000, something like that. And so I was like, okay,
You need 750 in your retirement accounts.
like I think it's cumulative, like net worth or whatever I don't even think it has to be all in like
Cash.
investment accounts, cash, but it's when you're like 60 something. Because there's an age-based visa, unlike Portugal.
Oh.
So what happened was, fast forward, I went in 2017 and then I went again in February of 2020, and this time with my cousin, to a different part of the country. And we went to Australia, but we had the wildfires at that time. And then New Zealand, we went to Wellington, and I wanted to see a different part. And I was kind of like, oh, let me kind of get a feel for where do I want to be? Do I want to be South Island? Do I want to be this? And lo and behold, and I was starting another job in like 2 weeks. This was February 2020. And I had left my previous job.
So right before the pandemic.
Yeah, so I
Right
wasn't
before.
working. Yeah, I had gotten laid off from my other job, my air quote dream job. Gosh, I think it was like October or November. So then fast forward to February. And so we went, right? And we knew about the pandemic at that point because it was talked about on the news. And I
Okay.
remember my cousin was coming from Houston, and I'm leaving out of New Jersey. And I had masks on the plane, changed in Los Angeles. I could count, it was probably like 5 people in the whole airport that had masks. And my thinking at the time was like, oh, I'm going to the other side of the world. There's a pandemic going on. It was also Chinese New Year. And then just interacting with different people, it just seemed like it made sense.
Yeah.
It was before
Yeah.
anybody said, hey, put that on.
Right.
It's like, oh, you know what? It probably makes sense because I'll be mingling with more people than normal, because of, going between the two countries and, Chinese New Year. So in any event, came back from New Zealand, had started the new job, right? Promotion, new title. And then we know what happened in March.
Yep. The world shuts down.
Yeah, everything blew up. I was on that job 3 weeks, and I got sent home like everyone else. And they were like, oh, it's going to be a couple weeks. And I knew when I started that job, while the pay was great, I was like, ooh, I don't even think I want to be here this long. I don't even know if I could do, at that point, it would have only been 3 years. I'm like, ooh, I think I might only be able to do a year. And then, as it were, I think I was on the job 2.5 months. We were home, and then we all got laid off. And I was like, hallelujah. So, that happened. And then, of course, and not to gloss over everything else that was happening, obviously what was going on in the news, and then all the stuff that was related to us as a people,
Oh
just
yeah.
multiple deaths on a daily basis, and knowing that we're already dealing with the pandemic that we're, over indexing in terms of the numbers of people infected and death at that point, and then compound that with, the brutality that's going on and being socialized and sensationalized
Oh
and
yeah.
repeated daily. I definitely was showing signs and suffering from PTSD. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was irritable. not functioning. I'll be honest. I wasn't functioning. And then I had a light bulb moment. And I realized, like, my family depends on me, right? I'm part of the sandwich generation. And so I said, I got to snap out of it, because if something happens to me, like if this goes, everything else goes.
Yep.
So I decided to redirect that energy. And I said, well, you know what? I know my move abroad at that point, right? We're talking 2020, was 3 years out. But those 3 years felt like 30.
Yes.
Mm.
And I just said, okay, you know what? I know, what do I spend most of my time doing? Planning my move abroad and planning my money for my move abroad. So
Yes.
I said, okay, let me create this safe space, right? Because I mean, we were so in need of a safe space. And that's when I had created Blaxit Global. And then, I kind of went from there.
Wow.
So Blaxit Global was part of your healing.
Yes, yes. I wanted to
So
create a safe space for us.
where did you get Blaxit from?
Blaxit, I felt like it was the best way to describe, like, what was going on, because that's the thing, like, to create moshes of words, right? Like Benifer and all that stuff. So I don't take credit, for the name of Blaxit, itself. That was a gentleman who had coined the term in a widely shared article many
Oh,
years ago. Um, but the Blaxit Global, however, I was like, okay, Blaxit. And then my friend Kim, we met years ago in a competition, and she has a podcast, the Sisters Connect podcast. And at the time we were competing, I had an idea for a podcast. She had her candle company. She wound up winning. I think it was like $10,000 or something like that. I got a really nice iPad. We stayed in touch. And so, fast forward a couple years later, she created a podcast. And then, the pandemic happened. So she pivoted to teaching people how to create podcasts, start a podcast. And so she approached me. She's like, you had that idea, years ago. Nobody had heard of podcasts at that point. It was like 2014-ish. And
okay.
and I was like, Kim, that ship done sailed. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. And then she's like, oh, wait, would you should think about it. I went to bed that night, and then that's when I woke up and I was like, oh, Blaxit Global, or Blaxit. And then when I talked to Kim, I think the original name was supposed to be Blaxit US, Blaxit Us,
Right.
US, play on words. And I was like, oh, I don't like that, because it's just too limiting, because we're all over this world. There's no place
Yeah.
we can go. And I
Yeah.
also didn't want to make it so, I didn't want to be so short sighted where I didn't have the opportunity to talk to someone who left, the continent and went to another part of the world, or the Caribbean and went to another part of the world. So I was like, oh, and then Kim and I were brainstorming. She's like, what about Blaxit Global? And I was like, yes, right. That
That's
was the
it.
Blaxit moment. And so from the time we had that conversation to the time the first episode aired was 3 weeks.
Wow.
Whoa.
Hmm.
Whoa. I purchased Our Black Utopia in 2018
Really?
Yeah.
for a different project. That's another story for another time.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say hello to some folks. Hey,
Yeah.
Greta.
Hey, Greta,
You
how
will
you
see
doing?
some familiar names. Good to see you. Vanessa is in the chat from Maryland. We've got Lester from San Diego. I grew up in San Diego, near Euclid Boulevard. Barbara is, hey, Barbara from Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Alicia, hey.
Denver.
Haven't seen
Hey,
you, but
Alicia.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been a long
it's
time.
been a minute. So
Yeah.
yeah, she supported our campaign. Hey, I remember the folks who brought us to the party. Francis is in Playa del Carmen. I'm
Oh, hey,
assuming
Francis.
it's Playa del Carmen. Is that the only
Yes, I know
playa
Francis.
Playa. She knows.
Playa.
Okay.
Tunisia from New York. Hey, girl. Good to see you. Glad you watched the replay from last week. Bom dia.
Bon dia.
Bom dia.
Actually, boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she follows you too. Yay.
Yay.
And one of our brothers
Ron.
is in the chat.
The
Y'all,
truth.
we had a fire this morning in our garage. So like our daughter's at the hospital right now seeing about because she inhaled all
Well,
of
not the
these plumes.
hospital.
Okay, urgent care.
Urgent care. She just wanted to be checked out.
Urgent care in case there's any other family members watching.
Yeah, she'll be okay.
She inhaled. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you. I forgot we had a show today. I was like, okay, what do we got to do? We got to clean this stuff up. Girl.
Because I would have understood.
Right?
I would have understood.
Michelle from North Carolina and Texas is in the house. Wait.
Oh, hey, Texas.
G for life? Is that?
IGI for
Or is it just lines in this life?
IGIF for life. Or G for life.
You're going to have to explain that one. I love these creative names. I love these creative names. Hey, Tunisia. Yes. Right? We've got Demetrius. We've got some Denverites in the house tonight.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Ola D. Walker. Wow. Yes. Summertime's calling in from North Carolina. We've got Rhonda from the ATL. Nubia Nett from Oakland. Hey, y'all. Sheldon. Margaret from Tennessee. Did I know?
Hey, Margaret.
Yeah.
Hey, Margaret was in the comments on my channel yesterday.
Yes, she was. I saw her.
Hello.
Martin. Am I saying that right?
Correct if this were wrong.
Yes,
Correct
please. Hey, Deborah from New York. We've got Artavia.
From Winston-Salem,
North Carolina. Artavia? I hope I'm saying that right. DW is calling from Morocco.
One of my good friends is from Morocco.
Hey, that's one of my Blaxit Global Passport members.
Yeah, we are going to have to make a trip to Morocco.
Okay, so how far away? Okay, so thank you for watching. Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, we are going to travel to Morocco, but what time is it there? That's what I want to know.
Bay Plaza. Yes, Bay Plaza. I worked there. It was my first job.
You said, and we got Deborah from the ATL. Looking forward to this interview, Greta. Thank you, Valerina, the Howard World Views, Stephanie from Las Vegas, Auntie Trey. Hey.
Hey, Auntie Trey.
Quinn from New Jersey, North Carolina. We got Philly in the house. Wow. ATL is representing Chicago. This is the first one from Chicago. Hey, Nelson.
Hey, Nelson. How you doing?
Nelson.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, BJM carrying too much luggage. Yes, we did try to take everything in America with us.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you,
that's how we roll.
That's how we roll.
I have learned. Hey, Venus. Hey, everyone. Hey, family. Good to see you. Y'all know, put a Q in front of your question. Nelson, I see yours. We will get to it. And Janice, hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. How you doing?
Rossini is in the house. I'm glad you're here, Rossini, because we are going to talk about everything Portugal, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions about apartments and whatnot. So I'm glad you are in the chat. So yes, put a Q if you have a question for either of us. And then that way I will see it. I will try to monitor the chat for you folks who don't do it or can't see it or don't, or come on after I say this. So I'll still monitor. I saw Chrishan on Sheeta's channel recently, and I can't wait to hear more. Yes, Quinn, definitely. And Wesley from LA, you know I'm from Bowen Hills, Wesley. That's where I grew up. So we got LA representing as well.
Yeah.
And then the Inland Empire way out there.
Hey, don't hate. Don't hate.
That's where there's so much smog.
Claremont, Pomona area. We get it all from LA.
No. Y'all making that smog and keeping it there. And every time you go out there, you get smoggy, foggy.
You ain't right. You ain't right.
And then they talk about we from LA. That ain't LA. That ain't LA out there. Right? From New York, like if someone is from Manhattan, they don't, like if somebody's from the Bronx, they don't say they're from the city. They're not. They're from the Bronx, right? They're from the Brooklyn. They're not from Manhattan.
Why you hating on
Same with
Pomona?
LA.
Why you hating on Pomona Claremont?
I'm just saying, right? All right, let's talk about Portugal.
I married a crazy person.
So
That's
yes, he
so
did.
funny.
Yes, he did. So it has been New Zealand, New Zealand, New Zealand, New
Hmm.
Zealand, New Zealand.
Yep,
But now it's Portugal, 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 Portugal.
indeed.
How did you go from New Zealand to Portugal?
Yeah. Oceania to
I was about
Europe,
to say two different continents.
right? Like all the way Oceania to Europe. So yeah, so
How'd
doing
that
the
happen?
podcast, right? And it's funny because I listen sometimes to older episodes, earlier episodes, and I think it was maybe at the end of season one, and my daughter was just like, New Zealand is too far. Because at that point she had done like the whole remote schooling, and her shout out to my daughter because she's a senior now as of this past week.
All right.
Yay.
And her whole like high school situation was a hot mess. Like she started school in ninth grade and they were only there a couple weeks, and then the school district got a ransomware, and then that was that whole thing, and then next thing you know it was a pandemic, and then they weren't in school. So it wasn't until last year, her junior year, was when she really finally entered the school. And
Wow.
so, yeah, when I think about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh. But, she was home with me all that time, which was the upside, is that we had a lot of time to spend together. And she was like, yeah, it's a bit far. And she was feeling it because her brother, my son, who's going to be 22 next weekend, he was already out of the house. And, she was home and she's like, oh, New Zealand's too far. And so I was like, okay, what, I'll look at other countries. And at that point, I had, one season of the podcast under my belt, and was recording the next season. And I had talked to Shar Winter, who's the creator of the Expat app. And we had this great conversation about Portugal. And I was like, and it wasn't the first time I had heard about Portugal, because when my cousin and I went to Australia, we were on the flight together, and she was doing Duolingo. And I was like, oh, what are you doing, taking on Duolingo? She's like, oh, Portuguese. One day I want to, retire in Portugal. And I'm like, Portugal? Right? And then filed it away. And then, of course, like you and I, we follow Amon and Christina. And I was, digesting their content. But whenever it was like a Portugal video, I'm like, I'm not interested in going there. And then I had the conversation with Shar.
Interesting.
Finally, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I want to look at Portugal. And then I'm like, let me go back to those Our Rich Journey videos and started binging it.
Now, see, it was just the opposite for us.
Wow.
He found Our Rich Journey looking for a place to retire in Europe.
Oh my God.
And I was only watching their Portugal videos, and they're talking about investing stuff. Oh, I'm not interested in that. Meanwhile,
Wow.
our accounts look crazy.
Wow.
Like they're not retirement ready, but I'm not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows you guys how fast we turned around our situation.
Yeah, that's impressive, because I've been on this
Because,
journey for a long time, and it's only been me and some other issues that were going on, but it's impressive.
well, it's only because of our 401k from 2002 that we never touched, and we just let it keep rolling over and rolling over. That's the big chunk right there.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I had my head up my butt. I had my head up my butt. We were looking at Portugal videos for Our Rich Journey, and every time they came on talking about how you can retire early, well, it's too late for us. We're never going to retire. We're just going to be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where we were at the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
And then we started saving because of Our Rich Journey. We started saving
Mhm.
40% of our salary. Then we got up to 60% of our salary.
Yeah. Yeah. You go hard. You go hard when you really.
Yeah, you do.
It's like it was a convergence, right? Because then my stepmother she came to a virtual event that I'd put on, and she's like, call me after. So I called her and we started talking, and she said, are you investing? And I'm like, yeah, we've got our 401k. She's like, no, other than that, you
Mm,
need to open an account today and start investing. And I was like, okay, like E-Trade or something. And she's like, well, yeah, you can do that. Charles Schwab and Fidelity are better, but yeah.
mm-hmm.
And so I literally opened up an E-Trade account, looked at the biggest or the mutual fund, because I understood mutual funds that had the best rating and the best return on investment. Didn't know anything about the cost, like what fees I would be paying.
Yeah.
Didn't even look at that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And invested some money in that. And then I started talking to her, and she's like, okay, we're going to start talking. Well, I asked, can we start talking every week? And she's the millionaire next door, and you teach me
Mm-hmm.
everything that you know.
And I had a couple small investment accounts with Robinhood, some of the mobile platforms that I looked at, because during the pandemic, I mean, I was in my man cave downstairs
Laid
with
off.
nothing to do but watch CNBC, and
Mm,
every day playing in the background or watching while I'm on my computer doing different things. And I was like, wow, there is something to this. But
yeah.
she took it over with more intention with the
Mm,
bigger firms, Fidelity. I had started something with Fidelity, and we kind of merged everything together from that point. But yeah,
yeah. Makes all the difference.
it
It
does.
really does. So shout out again to Christina and Aman of
Yes.
Our Rich Journey. And
Yes.
I think I'd say a good portion of the Black folks who are in Portugal are there because of some piece of
Oh
Our Rich Journey, right?
yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
So what did Shar say that made you say, I need to consider Portugal?
Oh, I mean, she talked about like the freedom that she had and the representation that she saw there, and just how much better she felt. And she has been to, I think at the time we had the conversation, probably about 50 countries. And she was
Wow.
in London prior to moving to Portugal.
Right?
And so I was listening and I'm like, the way she was describing it to me sounded and felt very reminiscent of my experiences when I was in New Zealand. And so, when my daughter had shared that she didn't feel comfortable with me being that far, I was like, okay, you know what? When you're in college, I can commit to, because 4 years isn't going to kill me, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? While you're in college, I'll stay within at least, no more than a half a day. So then I had identified, Costa Rica and Portugal. And yeah, so I did my scouting trip to Costa Rica in October. That didn't go well. And so I was like, okay, you know what? April, I'll go to Portugal and I'll try that out. And then if that doesn't work, then my third choice was Italy. So Portugal went very well and I
So that was
stopped.
it.
And
So before we go to all things Portugal, I have to know, because Costa Rica's on everybody's list. It was on our list.
Mhm.
So what happened? What
Ooh,
happened?
Costa Rica. Um,
Oh,
I mean, the people were great, right? But, ooh, I mean, and I realized, I will say this, regardless of what challenges you might encounter, I am a person who likes to see the bright side of things. And
okay.
so the bright side of that experience was that it allowed me to understand and have a greater appreciation for the things that I should have been paying attention to. So to explain, I planned my scouting trip, right? Sent my daughter with her father, and then I took off to Costa Rica. There were some challenges getting there from Newark that wasn't related to the country at all. Um, but then when I landed the next day, later than I was supposed to, um, it took 4 hours to get out of the airport. And
Whoa.
I was like, wait, so my shuttle's at 2. I arrived at 11:55. I only have a carry-on. Why is it taking so long? So, again, this is October, right? So still everybody's wearing masks. You have to do all these forms before you go, COVID
And
stuff.
this is San Jose. You landed in San
Yes.
Jose? Okay.
So as I'm standing there, right, and we're all standing there, other flights are coming in. So there's more people. And so I'm just like, okay, so y'all are all worried about COVID protocols. Like we are all practically on top of each other here in this space trying to get the hell out of this airport.
Right.
So I missed my shuttle and I was supposed to be going to Puerto Viejo, which was about 5.5, 6 hours away. And then I had to figure out, because I'm already running crazy because I was supposed to be there the day prior, but
Oh, that's
leaving,
right.
we didn't have a pilot. Everybody else was on the plane, but they
That's
forgot
right.
to say that, oh, the pilot called out and we didn't put another one on.
What
So
airline?
United. But again, right, in the context of what was going on, that was also when they were really strictly enforcing the mask mandates and the
Okay.
mandates. And so pilots were calling out if they didn't want, like there was a whole lot of other things that were at bay. So fine. So finally got at the airport. I have to hire a private car. Fortunately, I had was able to get one, but a private car is more expensive, especially last minute. And it took close to, it was 6.5 hours to get there. We're driving at night, and driving at night is not something that I like to do. But I'm a passenger, right? In this instance. But even if you're a passenger, again, coming from the States, I'm used to overhead lights, highways, and all the countries I've been to as well. And this was not that. It was like one highway. And the gentleman was great. He was lived there his whole life. He's telling me, and I'm asking him all these questions, like, about the government, about banking. He was just like wealth of information,
That's good.
which
And
was
obviously, was this conversation in English or Spanish?
in English.
Okay.
In English. And so we had a great time, talking together. He made sure, like, he stopped, make sure I had food. Like I said, the people are great. But what I realized was that the infrastructure, and he talked about it in our time together. He's like, I don't think this is going to work for you because, and he had spent some time in the States, actually studying in the States. And he's like, I don't think this is going to work. And, so there's like one highway and he's telling me like they were trying to put this other lane in. And he's like, yeah, it's been like 5 years. And he said, honestly, I don't think I'll see it completed in my lifetime. And
Wow.
I was just like, what? So he's telling me like all of this stuff that I wouldn't have been able to, find out otherwise.
Right.
And I'm just asking him question after question. So we finally make it there. Now, mind you, it's only 143 miles from San Jose to Puerto Viejo. Yet it took us
Wait a minute.
hours.
Wait, 143 miles. Like I'm just LA to San Diego is like 200 and something miles, and that takes well, it used to take an hour and a half. Now it takes about 3.5 hours because traffic.
6.5.
Oh, so you guys were like in bumper to bumper trying to leave the city?
Yeah, 4.5 hours or 4 hours in the airport, 6.5 hours in a car, and again, one lane highway, and
oh my
because it's one, right? Everybody's on there. So that is motorbikes, that's cars, that's tractor trailers, right? So everything's moving and no overhead lights. And so it's just, and he's not used to, I wouldn't say he wasn't used to. His preference is to take fares during the day.
Of course.
Especially when he's going that far from home, right? Because he still has to make it after he drops off back home. And it was challenging. And so, get there and it, just one issue after another. And so
welcome to Costa Rica.
Was I had this attachment to my phone, right? So I had my power backup and everything. And I remember there was like this gigantic bug in the room. And I went and leaned over to like kill it and broke the thing to my charger. And I'm like, oh, Chrishan, you can't be in the jungle with no cell phone. So I'm like, okay, the next day, I'll go and I'll get it because everybody I see has an iPhone. And yet when I'm asking them, and I know I'm in the jungle, there's not going to be an Apple store, right? But y'all all have iPhones. I could see if you had a clamshell, Motorola, like, no, you have the same phone I do. Where do I get the attachment? They're like, oh. And that's when I
Oh,
realized,
Oh, what?
yeah. And then they were like, they said, send me to the store, I'm walking, the banking thing is an issue. But the biggest thing for me, and I will say this and wrap it up, is couldn't flush things. So I'm like, okay, everything else
Oh,
aside, right? Especially 4 hours in the airport, 6.5 hours to get there. I get to my Airbnb like 11 o'clock at night, you know. Um, I'm like, y'all should have led with that. That I can't flush things, especially when I get back to the airport trying to get out of the country and couldn't flush things. Airbnb is not Airbnb. Uber's illegal, so every time you call an Uber, it's like a drug deal going down.
yeah.
And then so that was a whole thing. And the traffic is insane. I had to go a mile to the airport to take my COVID test. It took 40 minutes to get to the airport and then an hour and 20. And we had only gone a quarter of a mile and I was
oh
supposed to
my
check out.
gosh.
I left the house at 9. It was already after 12. So I was way past my checkout time. So I'm literally running, and there's traffic coming. And I'm running to try. It was a hot mess. I was like, never
Oh
again.
gosh.
Never,
Oh my gosh.
never. So that was like, but I have a greater respect for infrastructure.
Yes.
And so that was one of the biggest takeaways from that was I need a country that had an infrastructure because of the fact that I have a platform and location independent and also just things to do, which the country didn't really afford me more things to do because I spent the majority of the time trying to just do basic things like
Right.
find a charger for my phone or get out of an airport.
See, and that's the thing. It a lot of times when we're planning where to move to, we think about where we enjoy vacationing.
Yes.
And where you enjoy vacationing and where you enjoy living do not
No.
necessarily go hand in hand,
No, they don't.
right?
No.
Nope.
I love the beach,
Yes.
but I don't want to pay beachfront prices for food or for anything. And I don't
Mhm.
want to deal with a lot of people from out of town with their loudness,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So, and I don't want to deal with a lot of humidity.
Hmm. Yeah. Plus, climate change is real. I mean,
That too.
yeah.
That too. So, I don't know. Okay, so you land in Lisbon.
Yeah. That was awesome.
What what was the thing? What was the thing that said, yeah, Lisbon is the place? And then we're going to start talking about pros and cons
Mhm.
of a 5 year, or I would say 3 year, because you changed in the middle there. 3 year timeline versus a 9 month timeline.
This should be fun.
Okay, so you land in Lisbon.
Yes.
What was the thing about Portugal that you're like, when did you know? And I know it wasn't as soon as you landed. So when did you know? And then why?
Ooh. There were signs, and I was trying to measure my expectations because freshly in my mind was what happened in October. It was like getting off the airport and my plane was the first to land that day, so breezed through immigration less than 5 minutes. So and I'll
Okay.
play back what was in my head, right? So I got my bag and I'm like, all right, Chrishan, we're so far so good. Right, and I'm looking at the airport, it's beautiful. And then I was gonna see Shar, and I was able to, get money out of the ATM and then take the metro from the airport to meet her. And that was only like, I think, €1.50.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can easily access this. Me coming from where I live in New Jersey to fly out of Newark, and it's not that far, easily is $50. So I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
right? Like all of these like data points that I'm like, okay, I can do this clean, right? The metro's clean,
Yep.
people are friendly. It was easy to see, especially coming from New York City. And I was just in the city Tuesday for the US Open. And still, I'm from New York City originally, and I still get confused, right? But I was able to figure out their metro pretty quickly. Um, and then I got to my Airbnb and I was fine. And but there was also just to talk about something personal, right before I was due to leave to go to Lisbon, I was taking my daughter. My daughter's an equestrian, and I took my daughter for a horseback riding lesson. And her dad was traveling, and so I was like, "Oh, okay, we'll just." I was packing. I'm like, "We'll run. We'll do the lesson. I'll come back. I'll finish packing. I'll shower. Hit the airport." Like the last 10 minutes of her lesson, and I look up, and she's airborne and falls off the horse.
Oh,
And my heart, right, like, and she's not getting up, and my heart just like drops. And making sure she's okay, go to the emergency room, brain scans, all of that stuff, right? They said she has a concussion. My thing is, if there was a brain bleed, I'm not going.
Of course.
But and I knew her dad was maybe like an hour or so away at that point when we were leaving the hospital. And and then I got it together and made it to the airport in time. So I also felt like when I was there in that experience, it was also going to be a test for me. Can I be abroad,
Mhm.
and what happens if or when things happen to members of my family,
Right.
and how do I manage through that? So that also was one of the things that confirmed for me, because I'm like, okay, you know what? I got on that plane 6 hours later. I was in Lisbon. If there was something that I need to come back, it's only 6 hours. Her and I communicated the whole time she was away. She felt fine.
Good.
She had to work through the concussion, but like she didn't feel like, oh, mommy, you left me. Of course, I had the mom guilt, right? I had to like contend with and work through. But I felt so at ease, even though these other things were going on in the background. And I have my mom who's in Florida, and she's of age. And so that's where I was like, you know what? This feels right.
Okay. See, and unfortunately, we're not 6 hours away. If we lived on the East Coast, it would be so easy.
yeah,
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
being
it's a
on the
little
west
bit.
side of the middle of the country,
yeah.
and then our family, our other family, we do have some family on the East Coast, but a good majority is in California. It's just going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's a hike.
It's going to be what it's going to be. So I'm going to get to some of these questions. Let me go
Yeah,
back
go
to
for it.
where was it Sheldon that had the first
I think
question?
so.
No, let's see. Greta, creativity. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the top here. Um, so one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking this week about the pros and cons of a longer rampway is you've been taking Portuguese.
Yes, since I came back, I registered. I'm doing Portuguese with Carla.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it. So we can say hello and goodbye and sorry. That's
Good
what we can
Mm.
afternoon.
say.
Good
Both
morning.
That's
of
it.
them,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
That's fine, right? We
I mean, so because with 9 months and then having to get, elderly parents situated and
mm,
get our house ready for rent,
yes.
and and then we were doing estate planning at the same time because
Mm,
yeah, we
mm,
figured that shit out at the last minute.
yes.
So folks, look at your benefits. See if you've got that legal stuff as part of your benefits, especially if you work for a big corporation. Get your estate planning done by a
Yes.
professional. Don't just save it for what's that legal aid online or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was
Yeah.
pointing me towards the wrong direction, just to let
Oh,
folks know.
wow.
Yeah, when I started answering the questions and what my attorney said, he's like, no,
Mhm.
that's not right. Not for Colorado. So,
Wow. Yeah. Definitely want to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Estate planning is very, very important.
yep.
Yeah.
Very important. You
Oh
do
my
not
gosh.
want stuff to end up in the courts.
Whew.
And
You don't want to lose half your estate or have your family doing a GoFundMe because
Right after we did, especially after we did 60% saving our, like, come on
yeah,
now.
exactly.
All right,
That
Nelson asks, right, in your opinion, what are the pros and cons of keeping your home in the States? I only hear about couples selling their homes all of the time.
great question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Krishan, I don't know if you own a home that you're planning to keep, but we'll start out. So, we own this home in Denver, and then we also own a condominium in LA.
LA, yes.
Mm,
So, we're not going for the golden visa. Perhaps if we were thinking about the golden visa, where if you invest $500,000 in Portugal, you can get permanent. Is it permanent residency right off the bat,
Permanent
or
residency.
temporary?
yeah.
Okay, permanent residency right off the bat. As long as you pass the FBI background check.
And there's certain places too. You can't get the golden visa in Lisbon,
Lisbon proper.
Porto,
Mhm.
and the Algarve.
Oh,
Yeah.
Definitely,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
can't.
so
get
it has to
there.
be the outskirts. Now you might be able to get it still in Lisbon, in the district of Lisbon, but not in the city of Lisbon.
Right.
Mhm.
At least we know that for sure. So there's those limitations as well. And that's another thing. When we first started looking at this, Krishan, you remember at first those who had a D7 visa and a pension got 10 years, no
tax.
taxes.
No tax. It's like, darn
So
it.
here's one of the cons of a longer timeline.
Yeah. You miss out.
The change, right? Things change.
Things change and they change quickly.
They
Like-
change every year. And I suppose they have the right to do it in the middle of the year too. I don't know
Yeah.
how their government works as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
So we are keeping, I think, whether you keep your house or not depends on your individual circumstances.
Mhm.
Why it works for us is because we have family both in Denver and in LA. So we do have people we can count on to say, hey, can you just go check this out? So that's one thing. The second thing is if you want to have income coming in. So for those folks who are not yet at pension age, here's a way to have a bit of income coming in, which can, expand your ramp of quitting your job or doing some freelancing, starting your business, doing what you want to do, making your side hustle, your main hustle,
Mhm.
what have you. So that rental income to me makes a difference. Portugal does not tax rental income that's out of the state or out of the country. So there's a pro as well.
Generational wealth. I mean, a big portion of what we're doing with our real estate is generational wealth. Why sell everything off and make, the kids, the grandkids have to start all over and doing something? So,
Like we had to
Yeah.
start from scratch.
right, we had to start from scratch. So we want to hold on
Mhm.
to as much as we have here. Plus, I mean, if you really, really need to ever have to come back, you got a place to come back to.
Yep.
But generational wealth is one of the biggest reasons we decided not to sell our real estate.
Mhm.
And that was already part of our plan.
And that was part of our plan.
So our plan was to create our own bank for our family. So build money, build property, um, um, investment funds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that they could borrow against it.
Okay.
And, just avoid the whole banking system with their exploitive ways, et cetera. So there was a lot of reasons. So that was the reason that now a con can be having ties to the United States. If you don't really want to come back, you always have to file a tax return.
Mhm.
If you are United States citizens, folks, even if you are not making any money, you have to file a tax return. Just file. Don't get into that. Because I was just reading in, I think, International Living about somebody who didn't know, and he owes the United States government so much money because he
Yeah,
just
there's
didn't
a federal
file.
case. I think that's going before the Supreme Court about
Oh, that's what I was
Yes,
reading.
that's
Yep.
what it was.
not filing the FBAR.
Yes, that's what it was.
Exactly. Also, if you have money in foreign bank accounts, you've got to file. You've got to fill out a special form for that. So, so one of the cons is having to deal with stuff when you're not there. We had a fire in our garage this morning, an electrical fire. If we were in Portugal right now, having to deal with the insurance and all of that stuff from abroad, that's a con. We're renting out to our family right now. When they're ready to buy their own places, move, our daughter's planning to move abroad, then we're going to have to deal with the whole strangers in our house thing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a con. So did you keep a piece of property? Are you planning to keep a piece of property?
I rent.
Okay.
So I've had several homes over the years, and I got rid of my last one probably like 10 years ago, maybe a little more than that.
Yeah.
And had been renting ever since. My rent is ridiculous. But the benefit, I was going to buy a couple of years ago, but then I think when 45 was in office, there was a change to the tax structure in
Right.
terms of how much you could deduct for your property taxes. And in New Jersey, property taxes are ridiculous. And so with the cap was so low, it was like, oh, forget that. It's not even worth it. Right?
Right.
Because if I can't deduct the interest on my taxes, what's the point? So I was like, all right, I'll just rent,
Wow.
and so the upside is that when it's time to go, it's like, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you started taking lessons in April or May?
Yeah. It was May. And then I took a hiatus while I was in Bali and Singapore. I just got back about a month ago and started up again now. And so I was
Okay.
doing some earlier today, and I'm like, ooh, just taking that little bit of time. I was like, oh my gosh.
I continue when we were in Mexico, when we were in Portugal, when we left back in May, I continued taking my lessons because I know
Mm,
just 1 week off. And I
yeah,
feel like I can't remember anything.
throws off your game. And so I was like looking at it, and I think it was like the one that was like sunglasses, and I was just like, "Ugh," and I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
refreshing myself.
Oh, and that pronunciation. Do you have to pay for your NIF annually? No, I don't think so.
No, right? Because I think it's like, well, it depends on how you're doing it, right? If you're doing it like through border, that's a year in that relationship where they sign you up. Mhm.
Okay, Border IO. So we do have a link as well in the description.
But you don't have to annually renew it
But
like
you don't
No.
annually
yeah.
renew it. Rossini, if you're still in the chat, if you can just chime in since you've been there longer than we have.
Yes.
Don't. So the other thing is, folks, I just learned that there is a temporary NIF and a permanent NIF. Don't get the
Oh
temporary.
yeah, you were telling me that time. Yeah.
Yeah, do not get the temporary. So apparently, if you go to a bank and do not have a NIF and you want to open up a bank account, they'll give you a temporary one.
Temporary. Right.
But you
Mm,
can only use it for that. You can't use it to purchase a house, to purchase a car,
mm,
or for your taxes, like an apartment. They
mm,
won't accept that NIF. So yeah, the NIF. I think she told me. I think it starts with a letter or something. If it's
mm.
temporary, and so ours starts with a 3. That's permanent. But yeah,
Get
so
mine.
you still have to get yours, or you haven't got.
Yeah, I have to get mine, but I'm moving to Florida before I move to Portugal.
I just don't know why you would do that.
You know why? It's called taxes.
So, okay, so this is one of the things when you have a longer ramp, you can start thinking about these things. I did think about these things. Colorado does have income tax. It's
Mhm.
not like Florida or some other places, but they're pretty low. It's not like California where we have
Or
our
New
other piece of property,
Jersey.
Right.
right?
Right.
So, in California, you can get an AA degree for free. Community college is free in
Yeah.
California. You just have to pay your fees. Like, I don't know, it was $50 back in the day.
Ooh,
So at least I can see what you're getting for their tax money.
True. Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
New Jersey has a reputation. We will leave that alone. We will leave that alone. So why are you moving to Florida right before you move?
Taxes, and also my mom lives in Florida. Actually, my on her side, they all live in Florida. So my
Okay.
aunts and my uncles, and that's where I spend time
Great.
outside of seeing my dad's families in South Carolina.
Okay.
But
Ooh,
yeah,
South
no,
Carolina.
yeah, yeah, get you town.
I passed through that. Are they on the islands?
Yes, St. Helena.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I passed through a
Gullah
tip of
Gullah.
South Carolina. Yeah, Gullah Gullah, I know. As a matter of fact, I used to buy the baskets as presents for my Black friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know what that is, they're very, very expensive hand woven baskets that originated on the islands off of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But we passed through that during the Obama days, just a little tip of South Carolina, and saw witch doctor
Wow.
billboards and stuff. I was like, where are we?
Oh my God.
Lord, where are we?
Just keep moving.
Keep it
Yeah.
moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. So you're moving to Florida to gain residency in Florida,
Yes.
so that when you are an expat, you will pay Florida's income taxes or
Which
whatever,
is
which are zero, as opposed to New Jersey, which God only knows.
Woo.
So think about that, guys, before you decide to become an immigrant to another country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's a bit of time and be the strategy.
yes, 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 yes. So Greta asks, how much luggage are you bringing to Portugal for your move?
Us?
Us's or someone who had a lot of time to plan and declutter, like
He was doing
Chrishan.
today.
So we'll tell our sad story first.
So what do we have? 7 bags?
So Adelia Borchade, Picky
Yes,
Girl
they
Travels
do.
the World. I asked her. She traveled with 3, I think,
Yeah. She kept it. Yeah.
at 3 with a sewing machine.
Okay, well,
I
she's one
know. Oh my
person.
God.
She's one person, and
Yeah.
she suggested these deployment bags. I keep
Okay.
looking over here because one of them's over
One of them
there.
sitting right there
I'm gonna
staring
write
at
that
us.
down.
So she got her deployment bags from the Container Store, I think,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
but we got ours from Amazon. And they look just like the ones at the Container Store. They're about 3 feet, a little under 3 feet, and they're like rolling duffels.
Yeah, just
Oh, wow.
bigger duffel bags, like military duffel
Yeah,
bags.
exactly. How many do we have, sweetheart?
We have 7,
Wow.
but not all of them contain clothing. Some of them contain sheets,
Linens.
linens, and stuff like that
Mm.
you want to take with you because
You
linen counts and everything, and you spend a lot of money for that stuff here. So why not take it with you?
Yeah.
Then we have our carry-ons.
And
Why you
one,
bite your lip?
because we have one big bag, one big suitcase that I know is coming, that we bought in Italy. Because we had these old suitcases that were heavy and we were
Yeah.
getting charged.
Those cloth suitcases,
Yeah.
get
old
rid of them.
canvas.
Yeah. No.
Get
Yeah.
rid of
Don't
them.
keep those. Don't
They're
let them
heavy.
keep those. Yes.
So we bought a new suitcase when we went to Italy. This is when we got charged and I felt the pain.
Yeah.
So we got a lighter suitcase. So that will be going. Our 2 carry-ons plus our backpacks.
Plus our backpacks.
Oh, nice. That's not bad. For 2 people, I think that's reasonable.
And our backpacks carry enough clothing for a good week.
Oh, no.
And then you go wash out.
No, I've been living out of my backpack almost literally for 3 months.
Wow.
But you're cleaning your clothes and stuff like that.
Washing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's what I say, for at least a week,
Yeah.
and then you can
No.
wash them and redo it again.
No, I have every single pair of underwear that I own in the backpack.
Okay, that's TMI.
So it lasts me longer than a week. I have like 15 shirts. 15 shirts. His clothes are bigger and he can't fit as much.
Yeah, guys, we got bigger clothes.
He can't fit as much. This suitcase, and I'm going to name it is Tropic Feel,
Tropic
because
Feel.
I want to become I want them to sponsor us. Tropic Feel. We have traveled. I have lived out of that for 3 months, y'all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3
That's
months.
cool.
So it is. It expands. It is so cool. But yeah, 7 suitcases.
That is awesome.
Greta, we're taking 7. But when our place is furnished, but it's not an Airbnb, so it's not going to have dishes. It doesn't have linens and things like that. It'll have a bed.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to land and go shopping?
In all fairness, our landlord did say he would loan
Yeah,
us some stuff
he
until we
would.
got things.
Oh,
But
that's
But
nice.
we can have our own.
Yeah.
I bought, these are 900 thread count sheets that I bought on clearance during the pandemic. I want my
And
sheets.
she ain't giving them up. Actually, we traveled with some of them through our travels through Portugal and Mexico.
I carried one with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So people were like, "Oh, they washed the sheets when they left." That's because we were using your sheets.
Yeah.
Mm.
We were not
our own
using
sheets.
your little sheets.
Yeah.
Rosalind says 60%. Yes, we were saving 60% of our income. Rosalind, it was when we looked at our account, and then we started doing the fire number, which is 25 times expenses.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that the math was not mathing.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic showed us that we could live off of one salary.
Right.
Where's all of our money? Where all our money at? Chrishan, we were spending $1,000 a month on eating out. That was not including groceries.
Yeah.
Between 900 and 1,000.
That's a lot.
So when everything shut down, there was all this money.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was all this money. I wasn't going to the Mac store to buy the latest eyeshadow. Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to Nordstrom Rack just to see what's in.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there are 3 dresses packed away, ready to be shipped with price tags still on them
Oh, wow. Yeah.
from before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yes, Rosalind.
Have that on there too, but that's
Right.
because I lost my job like after I bought them.
Well, that too. For me, I couldn't fit them.
Oh, wow.
I could not fit them. So Sheldon, Chrishan, was your goal to fire and move, or just move and work overseas?
At the time in 2017, the plan was to work overseas. So my background is I've had many careers, but as of late, digital marketing. And so the company I was working for at the time was a multinational, and I was trying to work my way to there, but also through the podcast, I was able to have a conversation with my friend Marcia, who's a former colleague of mine, and she lives in France, and she did an office transfer. But it was through that conversation that I was able to kind of understand, like, it's not as easy as saying, hey, well, I know things have changed now with the pandemic, but it's not as easy as saying, like, hey, I want to move to Italy and, let me be whatever in this office. Sometimes a lot of countries, the employer has to basically make a case that they can't find anyone with your credentials or talents to justify bringing
somebody
to the country, which I didn't know. And then also for New Zealand, because it's an English speaking country, and at the time my skill wasn't a skill that was in demand, it would be less likely. So a lot of it's changed when I look at from 2020 to where we are now, just in terms of my knowledge about, everything that's going on, and then just like the plan. But that's the benefit of having the time and being able to do the research and torture the assumptions to make it work. But yeah, at the time I wasn't thinking fire. I was just thinking I have to get out. But I took Amon and Christine's course, and that helped me also kind of restructure my my asset mix, because I was so focused on the number of what I felt I needed to have but less about how I'm going to access that money. So that's the
Oh,
biggest shift, because I am 48. And so I can't touch anything for,
tell you 59 and a half.
and I was like,
Yeah.
whoopsie.
So for our biggest demographic is 45 to 55. So you young folks, if FIRE stands for financial independence, retire early. And if you are planning to retire before the age of 59 and a half, then you have to figure out how you're going to get your money from your 401ks, from your IRAs
Being penalized.
without the penalties or the least amount of taxes, least amount of penalties as possible.
Mhm.
There is a formula to it, which
Yes.
we're not going to get into now, but basically what you want to Google is like an IRA ladder or something like that, where you start transferring your money from your 401k to an IRA, an after-tax IRA, pay a little bit of taxes now,
Mhm.
but no penalties as long as you roll it in. It has to sit there for 5 years, yada, yada. I don't know all the rules because I'm 58. So in a year and a half, I can
Ooh,
access
year and a
my,
half.
I can
Woohoo!
access the money with no penalty. So, and we saved up 2 years worth of living expenses, right? Make it rain, baby. But actually, the plan is just to leave the money in there. So,
Yes,
and that's
let it
another
grow.
reason why I have not looked
Mhm.
into what the ladder is all about and the 5-year rule and all of that because we don't plan to touch it.
Mhm. Yeah, I did a ladder for safety, like a just in case.
You're young.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh, you know what? I don't, a lot can happen in 5 years." So I was just like, "Okay, let me just do it." And I just did the one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that a high savings rate buys you so much freedom and peace. Yes, the Howard worldview. Yes, Howard.
Yeah, freedom and investing. Yeah, like that dream
Let
job
me
that
tell
turned into
you,
not so great job.
right? So this is what it did for us because as of Christmas 2021, we were still gonna wait until 2024, 2025 to move.
Yeah, I can't be here for the general election. That ain't gonna happen.
That's what he said.
That is
That's what he said.
Ha ha.
That's what he said, and that's what changed our timeline.
that is not going.
So, and then my boss texted me. So, that holiday season, my dad was in and out of the hospital starting Thanksgiving, right? Like 4 days after Thanksgiving through the new year, in and out of the hospital. And so she knew that. I had asked for time off in August. I was like, look, I'm tired. I told you I wasn't going to do 2 more years the way I did the last 2 years. And, and so I asked for 3 weeks off. I mean, I asked for everything. I want a week off here, a week off there, plus 3 weeks during the holidays, and this and that and the other. And she signed off on it all. Then she decided to take 3 weeks off during the holidays too.
Mm,
She's the chair, I'm the executive director.
mhm.
So the two main people are taking the, well, so she texts me, I'm in the hospital, and she's like, how come your email is saying, you're out of the office? We can't both be out of the office at the same time. I'm like, baby, I said, I am right now in the emergency room with my dad. And oh, yeah, by the way, you signed off on this time back in August.
Mm,
You forgot.
mhm, mm,
And
mm.
I just broke down and I told Rick, I'm like, I can't do this.
Nope,
I cannot do this.
nope.
And he's like, well, we just got to push through. I said, I ain't pushing through shit because at that point, I had started listening to Stephanie Perry and I'm like, I ain't pushing through nothing. I'm tired of
Right?
being strong.
Stephanie's like, quit your job today.
Right. And he was like, what do you
Quit
mean?
your
Because I've
job.
always been the one
Go
that
sit in the house.
we
House
just gotta,
somebody.
we just gotta suffer through this and then we can get in. But I was like, I'm not suffering through nothing more. I'm tired. I'm stressed the hell out. And so something's got to give.
Oh yeah.
Something has got to give. And so we started talking about it, looking at the math, looking at house sitting and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we can do this? I was like, yeah, we can do this.
Yes.
We can do this. We have 2 years of emergency fund, 2 years of living
Nice.
expenses.
That's
for
awesome.
Denver, not for Lisbon, for
Oh,
Denver's
okay.
living expenses. So Howard, that's what saving 60% of our salary did. When I said I was through, we were through. So right after the holidays, when she came back, I said, "Yeah, so boss, I think we missed our window of opportunity of me taking your place next year."
Wow. Good for you.
That window of opportunity has come and gone
Yeah, the
because
window's
she
closed.
right she lured me with that carrot to take the job in the first place
Yeah.
because I was taking cut and pay.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
Then she decided maybe I'll just do this for 2 more years. It's like, wait a minute, you told me another year, not 3 more years.
Mhm.
But I made your job too easy because I did
Mhm.
my job too well.
We do that.
Yeah.
We're magic.
Yeah, but that's the peace of mind that it
Mhm.
buys you. And okay, this is how far back I am in the comments.
Yeah. And that's, it makes a difference because, and everybody's path is different. Everybody's number is different. It's no different than, right? Your fingerprint is different than mine. Everybody's set of circumstances. But once you get clarity and you're able to, do the research, figure out, where you want to be, or, look at
Yeah.
your budget and where you can trim, it makes these, seemingly big sacrifices. Really, you're buying your time back. You're buying
Yes.
your sense of agency. And so things that are out of your control, you have a better center of control. I was talking about in 2019, right? 2020 leaving a role, like I had my dream job, right? And at the same time, there was a lot of pressure because the business was being sold to another company, and then that was going to go to this company, and then that was going to turn to another company.
Oh,
We were already in that journey like 3 years, and at that point, I remember a colleague who was in his 30s had a heart attack. Another one had my manager had a nervous breakdown. I started having trouble with my stomach and sleeping, and like all of these. Every time I was talking to another colleague, and they're like, "Yeah, but," and then another, company comes in, and then now you got to, bow down and genuflect for this one.
I
And
remember those days.
I was like, give me my money. Like, and so my
Peace out.
former colleague, we hung out a couple months ago, and she's like, Chrishan, I can still remember you being in the meeting, and I was waiting for the call. I was like, they gotta be picking me. They gotta be picking me. And I had my cell phone, my office phone in my hand. I looked down, and I got the email, and I jumped up in the middle of the meeting, and I started dancing. And I danced on out the building. And they were like, what the hell? It was epic. And I felt great. I was like, this is not a career limiting move. This is me celebrating because people were like, well, aren't you okay? Because, single mom, you got these kids. I'm like, I believe in stealth wealth, baby.
That's
Like,
right. That's right.
I wear the same stuff every day.
Y'all just don't know.
My ego's not in it.
See, and the notion of like, yeah, of wearing the same thing every day and not having to have new and not having to dress to impress.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift, right?
It really
It
is.
is.
And that's why our Beyond the Bling is called the Money Mindset Makeover.
Oh, I love
So
that.
the Money
I
Mindset
love that.
Makeover. So Preston wanted to know, what town were you going to that took 6 hours from San Jose?
Yeah, Puerto Viejo. Yeah. So in the jungle. Yeah.
Ah, Valerina wants to know, where are you in the plans? Are you on track for
Woo,
what you plan?
Valerina, yes. Yes. So where am I? I kicked off my farewell tour is what I'm calling it. So my daughter started school on Thursday. I mentioned Tuesday I was at the open. And then a friend of mine was in town. I hadn't seen him in like 7 years, from Kenya. He's dean at Strathmore University, vice chancellor, I should say. So got to like hang out. And so I'm like, this has been a great week. And so where I am in the planning process is, yeah, February starts the Florida situation. And then I'll be leaving and moving to Portugal in September of next year. So my daughter will graduate in June. And then we'll also be doing, the getting her college dorm and all that situated.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
So it's like I kept going back and forth in 2021, my timeline, because I'm always refining it. And I was like, oh, I'll go right after, she finishes high school. But my mom did that to me, and it's still a little bit of rub when she left me in the city and then moved to Florida. But I realized for me, it's going to be so important to have that time with her and everything before she goes fully into adulthood. So,
Plus, you don't want to move to Lisbon when the rents are at their highest.
oh yeah, that's a great point because there's seasonality, like there is in any place, right? So, the rent is usually higher in the spring or when you're looking for a home, right? If you buy a
Mhm.
home, and Mon and Christina even talk about it on their channel, right? If you're buying a home, you are more apt to get a better deal buying it in the colder months because it's less competition. Nobody's
Yep.
really buying and moving in those months. So I was just like, strategically, it made sense.
Yeah.
And plus, the elephant in the room is that, there's a recession afoot. And because we have, more of a geopolitical connected society, that it's going to have a ripple effect around the world. And so the other benefit of time is that we have to see how things are falling out and tracking, and my passport members, I see a lot of them are here and they know we do workshops in Blaxit Global Passport. We track the inflation and things like that and just kind of know what is afoot so that you can refine your plan. And I'd rather, folks have more money and then they say, oh, I don't need as much than, not kind of look at all of the things that are potentially at bay and then fall short, which will, either make you have to cut your plan short or just kind of change. And there are phases to moving abroad, which I kind of talk in our course coming up. But you go through this phase of homesickness and all this other stuff and second guessing yourself along the
Yes.
stages, and so you just don't want to set yourself up for that.
Yeah. So has the recession, because I know we're basically in a recession
Oh
with
yeah.
all of this inflation and everything else. So has that changed your plan at all? Have you had to adjust your plan?
I've adjusted it a little bit in the sense that originally, my mom reminded me of this. I was going to leave at the end of 2023 because my thought was like, okay, I won't have, this apartment and I won't have my car because I had a car and my car was starting to act up last year really bad. And the repairs were starting to get too expensive. So I was like, oh, you know what? I got a 24-month lease and it ends in September of next year because I was
Okay.
intentional. I was like, don't give me no 36. I'm not going to be here for 36 months. Give me a 24. So I thought about like, oh, you know what? My mom has her car and then she doesn't really drive that much anyway. And I was going to stay and ride out 2023 and save some more and then go in 2024. But nah, mama can't. I can't swing it. So that's the only thing that changed. Was like, I don't
And
care what's going on with inflation. I'm
I'm
not.
out. Plus, they might change the rules.
Yes, yes,
They
yeah,
might change the rules again, and then right, and then you don't qualify, or you have to save
yeah,
more because that's the thing about that's the only thing about waiting.
yeah.
Rick and I, how inflation has changed. Now we did this in 9 months, right?
Hmm.
So how inflation and stuff like that have changed our plans. Like right now, we knew we were going to have to come back and get the rest of the house in order.
Hmm.
In May, we're like, okay, so we just gonna hire some folks to help us, and I've got paint on these pants y'all can't see because
Yeah.
we're painting ourselves.
We're
We're
putting in floors by ourselves. We're
Wow, you guys
refinishing
are in it.
floors by ourselves. We're putting in vanities by ourselves. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sanding hardwood floors and staining them,
Taking the carpets up and
Hmm.
all of that
yeah.
stuff. So that's how inflation has changed our plans because I don't want to dig into our. I just don't. I don't want to dig into more than The everything is costing us more than I had initially budgeted
Mm.
because prices. I came
Inside
back
or there?
here.
Here.
Yeah.
Prices have just gone up so much. I was like, I just budgeted this stuff in April.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
August, and I'm getting sticker shock.
Yeah.
I'm just getting sticker shock. Everything is so much more expensive.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was we were going to just stay in an Airbnb because you can't empty the room that you are sleeping in. So we've been house sitting. So that was another change that we made. And these are the things that you all have to keep in mind when you're planning a move abroad. That everything's just not going to go as planned. And
Yeah.
when
Because
you
my
have more
rent went up like $500 a month.
Ooh,
Of course, that means that was less money that I had available. And then, the schools that my daughter's looking at, we're getting ready to do like that whole, college application and all that stuff. So I still don't know what that number is going to look like. So there's still some things that are, outstanding and that could impact, right, that weren't fully factored in. But faith over fear.
that's
And,
right.
you
That's
know,
right.
at the same time, like, we talk about inflation and definitely not minimizing it because we're all feeling it. But on the other side, like for us, the euro is at its lowest level it's been in like 20 years, right? And so, you know, there's an ebb and flow to everything. And so, again, there's certain things that you're going to be able to control. But, like we were talking about is, rather people, especially, like I said, my passport members are on here and we just did our workshop and we have another one coming up. Like, I'd rather take all the factors in and have more. And so for
Yes.
me, I know I'm not going to walk away with the number that I had initially thought I was going to because inflation kind of took a big hold of that. But at the same time, everything will be okay.
Let's talk a little bit about that because the euro to the dollar, when we first started looking at Portugal, it was like 80 cents to
Mm,
the to 1 euro. And now it's basically parity. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the dollar was stronger.
yeah.
So you guys have to keep this in mind when you're doing your budget and look at the currency that's there because think about it. If our social security, your pension, your whatever, your side hustle or your job is in dollars
Hmm.
and your rent is let's
Mhm.
just say 1,000 euro, that's not $1,000 every month.
No.
That's 1,000 euro. It depends how many dollars that's going to be. It
Hmm.
might be $950. It might be $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have flexibility. Hmm.
And keep that in mind and build that into your plan,
Right.
Hmm.
right? Because let's see, what does BB or Bebe or Bebe? I'm not sure. 500,000 are some of the Portugal condos. I find some of these prices unreasonable compared to what you get. They're totally unreasonable. They are
Yeah.
totally unreasonable and they are priced for naive immigrants who have more money than the average Portuguese. Like, think about it. If you spend $500,000 on a condominium in Lisbon or not, who are you going to sell it to?
Exactly.
Right.
And I
Who?
understand people are talking about like, oh, everything went up, but guess what? They were saying that about everything in the United States in 2007, 2008 before the bubble popped, right? And so you look at just history, everything, it can't keep going up,
No,
right?
no.
Eventually you're going to hit a ceiling. Eventually the bubble's going to burst. And again, like we were talking about, right? An impending potentially global recession. So I'm not worried. I'll find a place to live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we are headed for a bubble burst
Yes,
soon. I think
absolutely.
the interest rates being what they are, we're not used to these kind of interest rates. I mean, we love them for our savings account. Now we get a whole 1%,
Oh,
but
really? Ally just gave me two.
yeah, Ally, I think I'm at but two or so percent with Ally, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, in general, okay, so yeah, woohoo.
yeah.
But
Better
but
than
as
the 0.10.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But as far as buying houses, like how are you going to still charge $500,000 for a house with 6% interest? Because what are those payments going to be?
Right?
If you're paying cash, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But the majority of people are not paying
No.
cash.
No.
They're not paying cash. So Jackie asks, do you plan to rent or purchase a home or apartment in Portugal? And is Lisbon your city? Is that where you're going to land?
Lisbon is my city. I still kind of, I'm pretty sure it's Lisbon. I
At
went to
least to start.
Nazare my last full day, and I fell in love with Nazare. But I think for where I am, and I didn't think I was going to love Lisbon as much as I do. I think I want to be in Lisbon, at least for the beginning, and rent. I don't know what I don't know. And so
Exactly.
I am a forward thinker, but I'm also risk averse. So I want to get the lay of the land, really spend some time finding and developing my routine and all of those things, and start to spend time in different parts just to kind of see, is this where I want to put
Yeah.
myself long term?
Yeah. We started the conversation by saying where you want to vacation and where you want to live are not necessarily the same.
Yes.
And what I realized when we spent a month in Europe in 2018,
Right.
we fell in love with Spain.
Barcelona, Madrid.
He's gonna say, I knew he was gonna say Barcelona first, right? So that's where we were looking at first. And I realized on that trip, I'm a city girl.
Yeah.
I'm a city girl.
Mhm.
Like the beach and hanging out at the beach is nice, but I get bored and it's okay. So where are the museums? Where's the crowd watching? I could
Mhm.
just sit on a cafe and watch the
Yes.
people, and that's entertainment for me,
Yeah, I'm with you. I love
right?
museums and cultural stuff, and I love the beach, but I think to your point, it's like, well, doing it in specific points in time and then doing it every day,
Are
two
two different
totally different
things.
things.
Right.
Two
If I
totally,
can get both, and
yeah.
you can kind of get both in Lisbon. So Lisbon is our place as well, and we plan to rent. And the plan is to save and pay cash for a place.
Yay.
After talking to Michelle in San Miguel de Allende,
Oh, yes, she was
so
on
we'll be,
the podcast too.
yeah, she will be. We will be interviewing her in a couple months.
Oh,
She got
cool.
us thinking about, because Rick had this thing about getting like a villa, a hacienda, or something. He's thinking about the family. I'm thinking about bread and breakfast.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was on my dream list of things that I would want to do for sure.
So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. I do know that we will purchase. If
Nice.
everything goes as we plan, we will purchase
Mhm.
eventually. But like you, Chrishan, we want to get the lay of the land.
Right.
I'm listening to Christina and Aman. They have been investing in real estate. Buying a house to live in is not investing in real estate
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
unless you use it as an investment in real estate. And we never did because I never knew. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so, since they have been investing since they were kids, they're still kids to us. Um, I listen to what they say. And if they said you need to get the lay of the land and actually learn what the market is about before
Yeah.
you start investing, then that's what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And like Rossini, who's still, hopefully he's still watching, even he's been there for 4 years. He could tell us much more about
Mhm.
the market and the rental market than we. And because of him, we were not given gringo prices,
Yeah,
right?
that makes all the difference because my friend, we took a course like most people took courses during the pandemic, and she's Portuguese and she was living in Canada at the time we took the course together. And by the time I did my trip, she was living in Portugal. So we met up, and she is a tour guide. And so she took me around. But I was looking like, oh, I'm taking my phone out and snapshotting, oh, places to look up online. And she's like, don't do that. She's like, that's for foreigners. It's like, we get apartments all the time. We don't do that. And
So
that was
you were taking I'm sorry, you were taking a picture of
they
the
have the sign
signs.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
rent and things like that. So I was like, oh, when to look up online. It's like, mm-mm.
Was it in English or was it in
It was in
Portuguese?
Portuguese. But after you see certain
Yeah,
words
you know
again
it.
and
You know the
again, you
words.
can kind of say
Yeah.
oh, if I see that, that's probably what that is. Like for rent, I think it's
S-
Venta or something
Vende.
like that. Yeah.
Venta.
Vende.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Vendi or Vende. So I kept seeing the word big, bold red, and these, I was like, oh, that's probably for rent. And she's like, mm-mm. And even she messaged me earlier last week, and the place that she was in Nazare was like a two, maybe it was a 3-bedroom, but I saw a two when I came into her home, and it was like 500 euro, not far from the beach. And now she has to look for another place, and she has a storefront. I think it was
Wow.
like 600 euro. And she's like, oh, the place that I'm getting isn't even on the market. Like, it's not, you can't get it any other way because
Develop those relationships.
exactly. And that's the thing that I appreciate. And that's the benefit of going in a place and getting settled and making connections with different people and different locals. And when I look at it, like I took a course, and the course we were in, there were, I think, 1,000 people in it, right? But like, I believe in, divine intervention, that, we would take this course at the height of the pandemic, not knowing each other, two different countries, meeting up finally in person 2 years later. Uh, but, it's been great to have someone who can kind of give me that perspective. And,
Yeah.
like I say, you don't know what you don't know. And I am not doing this for a short-term endeavor, right? I want to do this and plant roots. Whether I stay in Portugal, 5, 10, or forever, it's really important to me to understand the land that I'm in, and especially those market dynamics that affect us on a day to day, right? We're talking about money and how do you budget for these things? You do this from a place of research, right? We didn't say, oh, hey, come up with some mysterious fire number. No, we had to,
Right.
do research, do analysis. So this is no different. You just don't go and say, hey, I need a place to stay. Find a place to stay.
Yeah. And read the fine print.
Yeah,
And read the
exactly.
fine print. Because we were going to rent an Airbnb, as some of you know. The lady who we rented the Airbnb from wanted to rent to us, but she was on Portuguese timetable.
It's different.
She's
Didn't
on
work.
Portuguese. She went on vacation. She's like, Namaste, Halisi.
Yeah.
Namaste. And I'm like, look,
We got to have this together before we walk in anybody's office talking about we want
right?
a visa.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
They're
yes.
not going
Oh
to
my
understand now. Oh, our landlords went on vacation and couldn't get us. They don't care
God.
about that.
Yeah, they say, yeah, well, they're going to be gone for a good month. So,
Why don't you come back when you got all the right paperwork?
yeah.
And we saw lots of people, right? You interviewed someone yesterday
Yes.
on
Yeah.
your right, Cam, who, hey, Cam, if you're watching, um, who the first time, she's so brave at
Oh my
24,
gosh.
not having all of her stuff together.
Yeah.
And when I listened to what she was missing, I was like, thank God for Gail. Gail did all of that stuff for us, relocate to Portugal, did all of that stuff for us.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that stuff in our packet, but
Hmm.
that stuff is not written anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is not written. So what are we talking about? First of all, go over to Blaxit Global and watch the interview from yesterday if you have not. But especially if Portugal is your place. If Portugal is your place, you've got to watch that. So what are the things that you have to have? Like, how are you going to get your money from the United States to Portugal?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is 2022. Why you need to know that?
Yeah.
Why do I have to include that in my statement?
Yeah.
We did. It was put in there by Gail. Thank you, Gail.
Hmm.
But that wouldn't have even occurred to me, and it's not on the list.
No, right? And those things, those details matter. And also, I think that's the gift of the time in which we're living, is that we can have conversations like this and hear first person, narratives of what someone else went through. So these are all, people sharing their blueprint. So
Yes.
you're getting the cheat code. So you don't have to
Yes.
go through all of
All
these
of
things.
that.
And it's important to hear different perspectives and different conversations, and it kind of helps either confirm, or maybe it says, hey, you know what, this is something I never thought of, let me do a little bit more research. But that's
Yeah.
the gift.
Yes. Like the temporary NEEF.
Yeah.
So, right. So Rhonda asked, do you have any experience with Flatio. Isn't that what she mentioned
Yeah,
yesterday?
she did. Cam talked about it in the video yesterday on my channel, Cultured Cam. She was denied the first time. So she went through Flatio, and I went on their website today. I was like, woo, them prices.
Were they out of control?
Out of control. So this, I was looking for a T2, right? Because it's just going to be me and our pandemic pup, which I left out of the story that my daughter, in her, talked me into a dog. So Bailey and I will be making the trek. So I was like, oh, you know what? I want a T2 because now I have, Blaxit Global and the podcast, and I have things that, I'll be doing more once I'm settled in Portugal. So I'm like, I need the extra room, to have like a studio. Plus, my kids hopefully will come visit.
They
Uh,
will.
but I was like, oh, let me just see what's on Flatio.
What?
$4,000 for a T2.
Ooh.
Wait, what?
For who? For I'm not paying Jersey prices, y'all. No, no,
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
not. Absolutely not.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, nope. Plus, I still have another year. Well, by the time I
Yeah.
have to commit to a place, I would less than a year, but still.
If you've got the organizational skills to rent and unfurnished, that's going to be your best bet.
Ooh, I
To,
don't know.
I,
I'm nervous.
I
I'll
and
tell
I
you.
and I understand that because it takes a lot. Like, but if you can rent, to me, an unfurnished with an equipped kitchen.
Oh yeah.
So y'all, because we that first kitchen we saw had nothing. It had a stovetop and that's it. No
Did it have a sink?
oven. It did have a sink.
It had a sink.
I just learned yesterday that sinks are not guaranteed in Italy.
Oh,
I can believe
I
that.
know, right? Doing Italy, Thea Duncan, she was on my podcast, and so we connected. I talk to pretty much everybody every day, and she shared on Instagram. She just moved into a place, and you see this big sink with the whole what do you call it, the board and everything, and she's like, it is not a given to have a sink. And they had to buy a counter and a sink to put into their apartment.
yes. So don't assume, guys, that
You're not in
y'all,
Kansas, you're not in Kansas anymore, kids.
Don't do it.
this is a young country with young plumbing where we flush the toilet
Yes.
everywhere
Oh my god.
and certain infrastructure and building codes that are not universal. They're
Yeah.
not universal. So in Mexico and in Portugal, you look for an equipped kitchen,
Yeah.
fully equipped. There's partially
Fully
equipped and fully equipped.
fully equipped.
And that's going to have your refrigerator, your oven, your stove. Dishwashers to me is that's a luxury. That's not a need.
Yeah. Because it's just
Of course,
Mhm.
yeah, a sink, of course,
Yeah. Of
a
course,
hot
it's
water
sink.
heater, and but I needed a washer.
Oh yeah, I
I
saw that
wanted
in
a
the comments
washer.
about my washer dryer whole
Yeah, right.
fiasco. And
And I understand. I would love to have a dryer, but at
yeah,
least a washer. So
yeah.
Rhonda, we do have a link in the description for if you want to get an apartment and commit.
Hmm.
Rossini helped us. He can help you get an apartment to commit. Flatio, from what I understood yesterday, from what Cam was saying, they have a certain situation where you can get out of it in 30 days
Yeah, yeah.
once
'Cause
you
they have
get
the
there.
number on there, like 30 days, and then how to
So
they have
you can get a 1 year lease and then get out of it in 30 days using this service. So if you don't feel comfortable doing a video tour of your apartment or something like that,
Mhm,
then that might be an option for you.
mhm.
That yeah. But we just went ahead and signed a 1 year lease with a place, and I really wanted to rent from a local, and we're doing that. The family
Yes.
owns the apartment.
Yes.
Dad-in-law is listed as the owner. Son-in-law is managing. So
That's cool.
to our like Utopia, will you ship your bags or pay extra on the airline? Great question. because we listened to Blaxit Global, we found out that there's a service where you can ship your luggage.
Yeah,
Who knew?
because we were going to put them on the plane.
We were going to put them on the plane. And so we're taking Southwest Airlines because we had a voucher and points and stuff like that. So we're taking Southwest Airlines to Chicago.
Okay.
So that's one set of fees that we would have had to pay for having more than 2 baggage. And then United from Chicago to Lisbon. So that would have been $400 per extra bag.
What?
Because $200, about $200, maybe $175. I'm rounding up on Southwest, and then another set of fees for United. And some airlines will charge you per leg. So, right?
Yeah.
United doesn't do that, and
No.
so it was going to be the $200 per bag for Chicago to Lisbon, and we have to change planes in New Jersey
Ah.
with a
Yay.
5-hour layover if you want to meet us out there.
Yeah, right. You know, if
You
the
have
price wasn't so crazy expensive,
right?
it would.
See how they do. So,
Right.
because I think we had like 6
No matter what
hours
you
or
do.
something. See how they do.
Yeah.
So too bad there's not a hotel attached or something. But in any event, so yeah, we're going to ship our bags through Send My Bags, which is what one of your guests suggested. They were the best deal. Send My Bags for 150 pounds,
Nice.
which equal about $170 per bag. Per bag. So we just saved, we went from $400 a bag down to 170, and we don't have to deal with them.
Yeah.
The only thing about it is that no liquids for Portugal. It depends on where you're shipping them. So for Express, no liquids. So all the toiletries have to go in with us in our checked bag.
Oh, okay.
So that was the only thing. But I mean, we're saving all, and because we have to fly from here to Chicago the day before, spend the night at one of the hotels by the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that with 7 bags.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah.
Or 8
nightmare.
bags.
Yeah.
Getting on the
Yeah,
airport
that
shuttle,
Mhm.
going over to the thing, and then first thing in the morning, getting all our bags back down with the bellhop and getting back
Mhm.
on the shuttle. Everybody being pissed at us because we've taken up all the room,
Mhm.
and getting back. That just did. Oh, just the thought of it was really depressing me.
Mhm.
Ship my bags, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm only taking 3, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I was in my garage today. Because I'm trying to like pack the stuff that I know that I want to keep, but I have no intention of wearing between now and then.
Right.
We'll just pack it up. Why am I looking at it? But my goal is to stay to 3, with 1 bag being just for like dog food, because that's the outlier. Is just making sure she has stuff that I can find brands there.
Right.
But other than that, like my clothes, I'm so like a creature of habit. I work
Wow.
from home. I record the podcast, in here. So I just get throw on some clothes, take my daughter to school, and come back home. Like I'm a hermit crab.
You know, I think without the linens, I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
but you had me thinking about the linens, because I'm putting that on my list, because I am particular about bed sheets, and at least for my stuff here, I don't really care, because it's like towards the end, a lot of this stuff is going either to Florida, or some things, because of how long I've had it, it's just gonna hit the garbage. And so it's just a fresh start. But you gave me something here with the linens. That
I'm
is
just thinking we land, the bed is there. Do
mm,
we want to go shopping for linens? Or do we
yeah,
want
see,
to
that's what
just
I
make up the bed
mean.
and go to bed?
That's why I don't want to do an unfurnished apartment, because I'm like, okay, it'll be me and the dog, that just means I have to get an Airbnb or a hotel like that first couple of nights, right? Because
Even though you're already paying rent.
exactly, and that's where I'm just like, I mean,
I'm
I
not
know
about
me.
that life. I
I
am
know
not about that life.
Yeah, because the other thing, like you mentioned, you can break your lease. So even my first apartment doesn't even have to be the place that I stay for the full year. It could
Right,
be where I stay just to, land. It could even be a one bedroom, right? A
right.
T1, just to kind of get there, get a little lay of the land, and then find another place. But I don't know if I can do like a unfurnished out the gate.
You have to have your stuff together, right? And you have
Yeah,
to be willing to stay in an Airbnb probably for the first week or so.
yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, the law is in, I don't know if it's a Lisbon law or a Portugal law, that you only have to fulfill a third of the contract, of the lease contract.
Mhm.
So, 4 months,
Yeah.
right? So, creativity reigns as have you narrowed down your favorite neighborhoods?
Yes, yes. I like
Okay.
Avenidas, Novish. I like where I stayed, which was, I guess, yeah, that's the same area as I was by the Metro Park station. I did like Campo de Ric, um, Estrella. That's somewhere where I'm thinking initially, but a lot can change between now and then. But those are like the ones where I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on over here.
Yeah. Well, we're staying just east of Avenida.
Have any Notavish or okay.
Yes. Yes. So New Avenue is how I read it.
Hmm.
Um, so Valencia, okay, let's get this is an easy one. I have big feet, Greta.
Oh yeah, me too. Size 11.
So did you look for shoes while you were there?
No, because I probably should because I am funny about the shoes that I wear just because my size. I don't want to wear shoes that call attention to the size of my feet. So I'm very particular about the brands that I buy. But no, I'm
I
not. I should clarify. I am not a shopper. I don't shop. I hate
Yeah.
grocery shopping. My mother could tell you stories about me and shopping my whole life. I'm plain Jane.
I noticed the women were wearing these bling bling tennis shoes because cobblestones and hills, that's Lisbon,
Ooh,
cobblestones and hills. And they had these cute bling bling tennis shoes. I'm like, I want some bling bling tennis shoes,
okay.
forgetting that I have bling bling tennis shoes here at home.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I didn't buy them. I
yeah.
have bling bling. What was I
Mhm,
thinking?
mhm,
So I did find, I'm only 5'4" and I wear size 9, 9.5. So that's
mm.
big for 5'4". I did find shoes no problem in my size. Greta, I don't know what size you wear. I think that's like a 38 or something
Yeah.
in European sizes,
Yeah.
something like that.
It'll be challenging for sure because it's already challenging for me stateside, but they have like Amazon and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I might find a new brand that I like, but to your
Yeah.
point, it's like I'm not packing heels. Actually, just remember I have a bag downstairs in my garage. I'm like, gotta donate all those office shoes from back then. I haven't been in the office in 3 years. Like all of
I'm,
that stuff got to go.
I'm packing heels.
Yeah, I'm not. I put on heels the other night. These were like little kitten heel sandals. And I just had to walk like 2 blocks. And I'm like, clearly I have not been in shoes like in a long time
I
because my
right.
feet are hurting.
Yes, yes. I am bringing them to bring to the place where I want to look cute. I will.
I
Oh,
was going to say she's not going to be wearing
I'm
them.
not going to be wearing them, and I'm only bringing 3 pairs.
oh, okay.
I got all of my shoes down to 3 pairs, and those were the ones that I bought right
Nice.
before the pandemic.
Yeah,
And so I wore them once.
yeah. I'm bringing a
Come,
big coat. Are you bringing a big coat?
I'm bringing a big coat.
Yeah, I'm bringing a big coat, and that's
Yes.
like there'll be a coat bag. So
Yes.
I don't know. I'm trying to keep to 3, but the coat is
And
large. The only way is otherwise wear it on a plane.
we're
But
using the vacuum bags.
oh, okay.
Now that doesn't change the weight, guys.
Yeah.
But at least you can fit more. Hello, I'm visiting in March for 1 month. I'm coming solo. I want to be around people, restaurants, entertainment. Must have a view.
Yeah,
Well,
that's creeping up
that's
on my list too. As a
so
view.
yeah, that's hard because where all of the touristy stuff is close to the river,
Yeah,
which
unless you
means
go
you're
like
down there.
15 minutes out, which I think it's Ashley in Black in Portugal. She's on the water-ish, but a little further out. Um, I think, yeah. And then Cinnamon, I thought was down that way too, driven
She's in
spider.
Casillas, yeah. So
Yeah.
you can have a view in the city proper, but you're going to have to be up on the hill a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
which means you're going to have to take a metro 1 or 2 stops to get to where the touristy stuff is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lisbon's not that big, folks. The
No.
city proper is not that big. So we were staying in Casillas, which is on the other side of the river
In
I didn't
Amada.
go over there.
in Almada. And so that is not even Lisbon district. It's Setúbal. I know I'm saying that
Oh, okay.
wrong,
Yep.
but
Okay.
it's a 10-minute ferry ride
Ooh.
to Cais de Sodra,
Mm-hmm.
where the touristy stuff is.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think Valencia, if you're in the city proper or just right across the way, you're never going to be more than 15 or 20 minutes on the metro from the
Mm.
stuff,
Nope. Yeah. It's
right?
quick. It's not that
So I did ask about the shoe size
big.
because we're coming up on 2 hours, guys. How long do you have to be a resident in Florida before you can apply for your visa? Ooh, good question.
There's no residency requirement
For the
for the
state.
visa from the state, but from tax purposes, you want to be what, like 180 days.
Ah,
So that's why February, because I
6 months.
had to go from, if I want to be out by September, like the end of September, which might be like October 1, let's say, but keeping it September, then that meant I had to get that in
And
February.
that gives you some wiggle room too for the six
Yeah.
months.
Hmm.
Okay, so we said we've narrowed down the favorite neighborhoods. Um, 56 next year. They're having conversations, 59 and a
Yay.
half in 6 months. Greta,
Oh,
yay.
all the lucky ones.
That's right. How are the classes going with Carla?
Yeah, they're great.
Why her versus others that are located in Portugal?
Yeah. South
South
Carolina.
Kakalaki.
Yeah, Carla is Angolan and Portuguese, and her husband is Portuguese. And so I appreciate it because I'm able to hear it better, the pronunciation of the words. And also, what I appreciate about the course is that they have these video vignettes. They put a lot into this course. So I'm on chapter 4. I don't even know how many chapters there are, but there's chapter 4 of the journey. And the chapter 3 so far was my favorite, which was this scene. And it was like a news, channel, and so you see the ticker and everything. So they put you in scenarios that are very close to what you'll experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
so,
love it.
yeah, it helps me train my ear versus, I've done the Duolingo and things like that, which don't really give you the context in the setup or how natives speak. And then the other added benefit is every Monday you can opt in for live practice
Live.
with a native speaker. And I did that about 4 times before I went on vacation. And it's usually like anywhere from like 4 to 8 people, and at all different levels. They'll do a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced. But if you're doing beginners, it's 5 to 8 people that might have been in different parts of the course, and we're just practicing. And you see the questions before then, so I read them, and if I can answer the questions in my head or at least understand the questions that'll be asked,
Yeah.
then I signed up for that one. But it's quick. I mean, I started doing that one maybe maybe like a month and a half into the course, I felt comfortable that I had enough command of the language that I could understand what I was seeing. But now I need to like reinforce the vocabulary since it's been like a month that I took off when I went on
I'm
vacation.
telling you, that's all it takes.
Yep. And
That's
I
all
was
it
sitting there
takes.
today. It was like, oh my goodness, that quick. But yeah.
It was really important to me to take lessons from someone who looks like me. So
Yeah.
I take Spanish lessons on a platform called Preply,
Oh, okay.
Preply. There's a link down in the description.
Mhm.
70% off your first lesson, and it's kind of like this. So I found my tutor is in Venezuela. She's black,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and we do Zoom.
Oh,
We do Zoom. So,
cool.
and all of the lessons are basically created for me. So when
Nice.
I was doing politics, she was showing me a lot of political stuff of what was happening in
Mm.
Colombia and Venezuela and Black Power stuff that's happening down there and all of this stuff. And she was giving me that. Then I started talking about fire, 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 fire. And she started showing me, giving me gig economy and economic
Oh, wow.
videos to watch
Yeah.
and ask questions about.
Mhm.
So I love her. Hi, if
Yeah.
you're watching.
Yeah.
And I want to take, like, Carla, she's black. I want to take from some black person who speaks Portuguese.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I love about Carla's. I have a link for Carla as well that you can use, but it's great for me, and the classes, the courses on demand. And like I said, I got a little rusty, and she even has this integration with Memrise, so I can easily go back into and do vocabulary drills to just kind
Ooh,
of get myself back up to where I was.
yeah.
So, and then there's quizzes and, all of that stuff. So like I
Ooh,
said, they pour a lot into it to
I don't
make
like
sure.
quizzes.
Yeah.
Quizzes remind me that I'm not doing as much studying as I need to. I don't like quizzes.
These are fun quizzes. It's like sometimes and what I didn't appreciate it in the beginning, of course, but I do now, is like I might get the word right. Like, I see them like, oh, Stash or whatever. And what I didn't do was put the accent, but I got the letters right. And then I get dinged and I'm like, oh,
Wait a
because
minute.
the accent wasn't on. And I'm like, oh, but it helps me like say, okay, Chrishan, you have to remember to put the accent on. Because otherwise, I've done other courses and things like that, and it's like, oh, bonus points for getting the right letters. If there was supposed to be an accent there, you need to put that accent, or you don't
Because
need.
in Spanish, it's a different word with no
Yes,
accent.
exactly. So
It's
I
a different
was like,
word.
okay, I appreciate it, but in the beginning, I was like, but I spelled it right.
Right?
You know how hard this is.
For real, though. So Sheldon asks, how are you both preparing to cover your health insurance / medical needs?
Yeah, health insurance definitely.
Have you started looking at that at all?
A little bit. I've done videos on my channel with Arnitha Webb, and she's in our passport community as well. So now when I travel, I just go through the link on our website, and then I get the insurance. So I'll get that policy through there. It's I forget who it is. Is it IMG or something? It's really affordable.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Sheldon, yes. Okay. Number one, you have to have insurance before you apply for your
Mhm.
visa. And it has to be health insurance. It's travel health insurance, or you can just go ahead and get just traditional health insurance. Um, Apparently,
Has
some banks sell it, which is weird. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Our bank didn't offer, probably because it was enough with the language barrier just to get that account open,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
But so we got our insurance through AXA,
Oh, okay. Yep.
and we paid about 300. And Sheldon, it just like in the States, they ask your age and all of that.
Yep.
And so age does play a role. And
Mhm.
even with our age and pre-existing, it was 363 or 383, something like that, for
Oh,
6 months.
wow.
And
Wow.
it has to cover 30,000 in COVID.
COVID. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that's what we're doing for health insurance. And then we're going to keep private health insurance once we get there. You guys know, as soon as you get your residency card in Portugal, your temporary residency, you can tap
Mm-hmm.
into the public system. But we're going to keep our private.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
And we hear that their public system is very good. It's just a wait sometimes. And so if you have private, you don't have the wait, and then they will access the public system if they need to, because sometimes the public system is better as far as
Right.
what they have at their disposal. Greta says she has wide feet too. So does he.
I don't have wide, but I have
I
big.
have, yeah, I'm long and narrow. Is it 25 times your expenses in calculating your fire number? Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some people do 30, but most people do 25.
Yeah. And with inflation and stuff like that, 25 is supposed to be taking into account inflation, but people say, well, with the market doing what it is, do 30 times your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever makes you feel most comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, Jorge. Yay. Thank you, Jorge, for answering the question about the European size. And yes, you can find them.
Yay.
Auntie Trade looks like she's going to be moving the same time you are. Yay. I'm looking for cues for questions. Hey, Professor LCH. Family obligations require me to watch you later, but just stopping in to say you all
hey,
sound good and look
All
great.
right.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yes, Professor. Thank you. Which Our Rich Journey vids do you recommend to start out with?
Depends on what you want to do.
Yeah. If you're talking about investing, I would go back to their older investing videos
Mm-hmm.
from 2019, 2020,
Mm-hmm.
just to get a basics about index funds, which I had never heard of,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And get that foundation first to understand what FIRE is if you don't already know. If you do, then just go right into their investing.
Yeah.
Because I had never heard of FIRE prior to the pandemic.
I had heard of it because when I went on my original journey, I was listening and doing Dave Ramsey's plan, and got to a place where, you know, I didn't have to consume that content all the more. But he was not, and I don't know if he is because I don't listen to it anymore, but was largely against like FIRE. And I remember I would do these walks. So this is going back like probably like 7 or 8 years ago. When I was still listening to his show, and he was like anti-FIRE, and you know, I was just such a devotee. I'm like, oh no. And then it wasn't until, you know, the pandemic and my journey got closer, and I realized like, ooh, yeah, there's money there, but I can't touch it. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah.
He was against FIRE, might not be anymore. Yeah, because they want us working, y'all.
Oh my gosh, yes, work till you die. And then I know you're gonna have Rich and Regular on. And you know, it was I saw them in the documentary Firestarter, and that's when I watched that, and I had seen them, and then started following them and listened to their podcast. And, you know, and also the audiobook to their book. But yeah, there's so many diverse thinkers and influencers in the space today that weren't there, you know, 8 years ago or 10 years ago when I was at the beginning of my journey. So that's the benefit of, you know, now we have more representation. Like Dave and Susie were like the end all be all.
That was it.
Take into consideration that the walk of someone largely who's, you know, obviously we're not a monolith, but, you know, a Black American has a different walk.
Right.
And, you know, life situations. And so those things cultural nuances aren't being factored in.
They're not addressed.
Familial situations aren't being factored in. You know, systemic racism isn't being factored in. And
the fact that we could not build generational wealth as easily is not factored in. The fact that the tax code punishes those who have to give money to the generation before us.
Correct.
And right? And then rewards those who are giving money to the people in front
Absolutely.
of them, you know. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, I did not know that early retirement was a thing. I thought you
Mhm.
had to work until you die. And so, when withdrawing from the 401k or Roth, you still need to be cognizant of your tax bracket. Yes, the
Mhm.
withdrawal could be taxed, counted as earned income for the year, and push you
Correct.
into a higher tax bracket. Exactly. Do your homework. We are not tax folks.
Yes.
Y'all, talk to your tax people.
Yeah, we had a tax workshop,
Definitely.
and that's in our passport community. But even for me, when I did the conversion ladder, that had to be, I had to pay the taxes on it, right? So you just have to be mindful of what you're
Definitely be
paying for.
mindful. Do you folks think the recession is going to make it more difficult to move abroad, or do you think it will be an incentive for more people to leave?
Hmm, that's a tough one.
That is a good question. I think the recession is going to, I think for some folks, it's going to make them panic and hunker down and get more risk averse. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, sweetheart?
I agree with you. I don't know if the recession would make you want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Inflation could.
inflation could.
And the two
Well,
are
I don't
not.
know, because Germany's got it way worse than we do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Inflation and a recession do not necessarily go hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the interest rates are going to go up because the Feds, where they're meeting in the 15th. So
he already said,
yeah, they're raising on the 15th, and then I think there's potentially two more before the end of this year alone.
Yeah.
They already said when they were in Jackson Hole that expect pain, and so that's where
yep,
Yeah.
emergency funds are important,
yes,
and making sure you're clear. And I talk about it in the course and in the passport community. Be clear on your why. Your why is
There you go.
right.
Yes.
So your why and how you want to move abroad can withstand, bureaucracy, or the fact that, like say we're talking about Portugal, well, Portuguese time, right? So there are always going to be things that happen along the way, things that are good, things that are not so great, right? Can't control inflation, can't control what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. But if you're clear on your resolve, like I know I am not going to be here for the general election. I don't care what inflation does. I'm just not going to be here. If that
right,
means I have to go somewhere else, maybe it puts something either out of reach in terms of, oh, maybe my number changed drastically and I could only stay X amount of time in Portugal. Well, then I might have to think about, how do I extend that time? Do I do house sitting? Do I, spend some time in the States for a little bit of, time period? Do I go to another part of the world for a couple of weeks, to give me a little bit of margin? There are
yeah,
many different ways to do it. But if you're clear on your why, everything else is going to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It looked like she froze for a second there, but you're back.
I'm back.
Um, I am. Let's see where I was. I don't know because I went over there to post that. What is that delivery service? We'll talk about that in a second. I see you. I gotta find where we were, folks. I'm sorry.
No
Gosh, we
worries.
are way far behind. I'm gonna speed this up, you guys. I really am. But I want to make sure we get all of these questions in. Um, oh my gosh, was I this far back?
It looks
Oh
like it.
yes, it looks like it was because we answered that question. And then put a Q in front of your questions, folks. I answered
Okay,
that
we answered
question.
that one. We did
S-
that one.
And we did this one. Was there something else I was going to add to that? I don't know. But always have some wiggle room in your budget. And whatever you budget for, add 20-30% to that. Because we have gotten so many surprises in this whole thing, like the fire that was in our garage earlier. Like this, okay, now there's $1,000 deductible for our insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what emergency funds are for. Ms.
Yes.
Halisi, can you share the name of the backpack you purchased from Tropic Field? They have several. It
Uh,
was the shell, and then I'll put it in the description. I have to go on and see. But it was
Yeah, I
the
have to look at
shell
it
with
too.
the closet thing
It
that comes
opens up
inside
into a
inside of it.
closet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it has this, like, it looks like packing cubes, but it's all in one,
Mhm.
and it has different sections, and then it squeezes down so that you can fit it in the backpack. And then when you take it out, you just let it out and then hang it in your closet, and it's like hanging shelves. So it's really cool. So I will look for that after this, and I will put it in the description. Auntie Trey, Courtney, the house is looking so good. Hey, sweetie. Um, I'm looking for questions, y'all. As of today, 1,000 euros equals $992.49. See, I don't like that. I want a dollar to equal, I mean, €1 to equal $1.05, $1.10. Right?
Yeah.
I just love we have Portuguese in the audience answering questions, telling us what we're
Yes.
pronouncing wrong.
Obrigada.
And I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No sink in Italy. No sink in Italy. I know I saw a lot more questions. Okay. Can you find or purchase a washer and dryer?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All
They
day
have
long.
combos. They have
They
combos.
have they have combos,
Mhm.
and then they have separates.
Mhm.
I heard that the combos don't work that well. I don't know. I could never
I
figure
went
out how to
through
use
mine with
them.
the one I had in Porto. Whew.
What did it work well or no?
It took forever.
To dry it?
I
Interesting.
was like, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't think they're as powerful as what we have here.
Oh,
They're definitely not as big. So
Yeah, they're not
no,
as big.
tiny, but it took
everything is
hours.
tiny. I mean, because
Really?
when we wash clothes, you can only wash so many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to wash often and then hang them up. And
Yeah.
It's good to air dry them, but they're a
Yeah,
little stiff.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'll just repeat it with Send My Bags, which Greta did.
Mhm.
Send My Bags is the one I looked. There's several out there, but that was the one that was the least expensive. And some of them were like, okay, I could no. Valerina, what is the name of the bags you bought to pack your items? They're just called deployment
Just
bags.
deployment bags.
If you just put
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
If you go to Amazon.com and just put in deployment bags, ours are black, but they have different kinds of deployment bags, and they're just larger duffel bags that military uses for deployment and stuff like that. They're
Yeah.
not the green, but they do have green, but they have a wide selection of them.
I chose black because in some countries, like military green and camo are against the law.
Right.
Mm.
So in case we need to use one to travel to one of those places, I just didn't want to even.
Yeah.
Are European bed sizes different from American bed sizes? They didn't
Mm,
appear to be. Seems like we
Mm.
were mostly sleeping in full size
Full
beds.
size
Same.
bed,
Yeah.
queen size,
Mhm.
not a lot of king size.
No, I have a king at home, but I can go to a full or a
Yeah.
I
king.
think our
Yeah.
apartment has a king size bed because it looked like two twins that were put together, and that's king
Yeah,
size.
yeah. I think where I settle like for a longer period, I think I'm gonna have to bring the king back. But I like my
Right?
In
I,
in closet size,
yeah.
oh,
it's
the
The
you
closet.
don't get a lot
closets,
of closet
they
size.
call them wardrobes, and they're very
Yeah.
small.
Yeah,
So
especially
$30 to
in
$50
clothes.
per suitcase. Shanoa, where? Who? 6 weeks though. See, we're gonna get our bags the day we land or within 2 days of landing. So it's only gonna take a week. Um, so but everything didn't need to take a week, especially for $100 less. So put that information in the chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Who ships for that inexpensive price?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
size
inquiring
11-2,
minds want to know.
right? Inquiring minds want to know. Jackie wants to know, once your visa is approved, how long do you have before you have to be in Portugal for the CEF appointment?
think they have what 3 months till you from the time you're approved to get into the country, right?
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
like your appointment could happen anywhere within 4 months after that.
Yes, unlike Mexico, which you have 30 days to make your appointment once you
Once you're
get
in
in
country.
country.
Oh, okay.
The self appointment is actually given to you
Mhm.
by the Portuguese government or immigration department. When you get your visa, they also give you information about when your self appointment is.
Mhm.
And we were told it was 3 months because after 3 months, your FBI background check is no longer valid,
Ah, yeah. Thank
which doesn't make sense because we got our FBI background check last week in July,
Oh.
August, September, October. So we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
apply until
Let me have a
August.
break.
We don't apply until August. So we
Yeah.
apply first week in August. We still don't have an answer.
Wow.
So August is one of those months that's being used up.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah. Because Europe, the whole continent pretty much is like, bye, we're on holiday.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that 3 month thing just doesn't, it does
Nothing
not.
gets done, and do not move to a country in August because
No.
you will get nothing done. A lot of people have been on my show that didn't know, got there, or other stories. Don't move in
Yeah,
August.
they shut down.
Yeah, they
So
shut
when,
down. It's hot. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's hot. I need to get an AC. Guess what? Everybody's on holiday.
everybody's on holiday, your favorite spot to get coffee and this and that, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. Everybody, bye. Well, it's
So
like when I
when
went to New Zealand and they're opposite seasons. So I got there January 2nd,
it
and
was hot.
a lot of the shops were closed for the holiday.
Yeah.
And they're gone for a month or
And you
more,
Oh yeah.
and you
right? Not
hungry.
our, oh, we're going for the weekend, Labor Day weekend. No, when that signs up, bye.
Yeah. Yep. 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 So when you were up north, did you check out wine country?
No, no, sadly. I didn't love Porto. I'm willing to give
Interesting.
it another shot,
Interesting.
but I did not enjoy it. So I wanted to take advantage of it, but it was challenging. So I'm willing to give it another shot. That is on my list.
Okay.
So we didn't go up to Porto. We didn't make it any further north than Coimbra.
Ooh, I wanted to go, but I
It's
didn't have enough.
pretty. It's
Yeah.
Colombia is
pretty.
very pretty.
It's
I
beautiful.
know. Oh my God. How far is
Yes.
that from Lisbon?
What
Took us
was
about
it?
an hour and a half on the train.
I want to
Oh,
say
that's
a
not
little
bad.
bit. Yeah. Hour and a
That's not
half, 2 hours.
bad.
Max. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna check that out, BJ, and we will do some videos about wine country because my husband
Yeah, I love wine.
loves to go to the
I
wineries.
love wine.
What do you have to do to change your state of residency?
So for me, you have to show proof of address, right? Voter registration, um, get a new driver's license, and all of that. And I'll be updating my bank accounts. I mean, don't have to do that, but because New Jersey won't be my home anymore, I'll be changing all of that. But to pass, like every state is different,
I was
but
about to
most
say
states
that.
say, you need to be like 180 days or something like that
Okay.
to technically be considered a resident.
Yeah. So Google it, Francis, for the state that you're thinking about. There are
Mhm,
several states that have low to no taxes
mhm,
that if you
mhm,
don't mind
mhm,
being attached to that state,
mhm.
like Texas, no thank you.
Right. Two and
Delaware.
a half.
No thank
Right.
you.
Two
I
and a
won't
half.
do it.
Yeah.
So we are at 2.5 hours. I'm gonna. Well, that's not what I meant to show. Okay.
It's all right.
So this is her expat coaching one-on-one. I also pinned that, so I'm gonna go back into the banners and undo that so I can get back to these comments. Um. So Halisi, does she charge for Spanish lessons? Yes, baby. I pay these black women. I pay these black women to
Women.
teach me Spanish, and because that's what we do. That's what we do. And so my teacher charges me $15 an hour for private one-on-one.
Wow, that's so affordable.
I think she has grandfathered me into old pricing because I've been
Mhm.
with her for so long. But you can find teachers, coaches, tutors on Preply starting at $4 an hour.
Wow, that's
It's
great.
like, right? So if I wanted to get a Spanish teacher from a very, very impoverished country, they would probably be less expensive.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So it just depends.
Yeah.
And all of that information is in the description. Can expats work in Portugal?
Yes, if
Yeah.
you so choose to, it depends on your visa. So
I
if
was
you're
about to
a
say that.
B7, yes. If you're on a student visa, most countries allow you to work up to 20 hours. If you're on a tourist visa, no country will allow you to work.
No.
So it
No,
is not advised
no.
to try that. But yeah,
Yeah. And
depends.
so some visas you've got to check Melly. I think it's Melly. Some visas, the whole point is to bring people into the country who will not take jobs from locals.
Correct. Yeah.
So are you saying, do you want to work in Portugal at a Portuguese company, or you want to reside in Portugal
Right.
and work for an American company?
Mhm. Yeah, your motivation might be different. I know like a lot of people have an aversion, or some people, I shouldn't say a lot. Some people have an aversion to, like, oh, well, they don't make the same wages. But who knows? Your money plan might be that you want to earn some money in euros because it won't give you as much exposure to currency changes, right?
Yeah,
Everybody has a
Mhm.
different situation, so you have
yeah,
to do what's best for you.
definitely. I know that some of the people that I get coaching from have changed their prices to euros
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, it makes sense. I know,
because they think
Christine
in euros.
Christine does that,
Yeah.
where she's charging in euros. She's in Spain. I saw someone ask for Carla's link. I'll give it to you, Felicie.
Okay.
Uh,
So we'll put that up for
I just
Carla for Portuguese.
I just gave it
I
to you.
just answered that one. My daughter's actually sitting on the couch right over there, which is so funny. It's like it's like kids texting. What was the name of the bag company? So yeah, we got ours from Amazon, baby. We got ours from Amazon. Or are you talking about Tropic Feel?
That was for our
Tropic
backpacks.
FEEL. That's where our backpacks that I've been living out of for 3 months.
And they're out of Barcelona, Spain, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I thought Home Chick on your podcast or your YouTube channel said ship my bags or ship your bags,
Send my bag.
but it was send.
It's send my
I I typed in ship my bags and I found ship send my bags. I don't think ship my bags is a thing.
Yeah, send my bags.
Auntie Trey. What was the name of the shipping company? Please send my bags. We've got that. Is it wise to invest into the index funds now with the economy the way it is?
Mm.
Honey baby.
Millionaires are made in recessions.
That's right. The market is on sale. When those extra blouses were on sale at Nordstrom's, did you say that's the last year's blouses or did you buy the blouse? So, I mean, there's never a guarantee.
Hmm.
No.
I don't think these good white folks are going to let this SHIT burn down because their money is involved as well,
They'll let crypto burn, but
right? I don't think they're going to let the stock market burn down. And if it does, then we have bigger problems. Then
yeah,
we're talking about the zombie apocalypse and some other stuff. And then we got bigger problems
yeah,
like survival. And
yeah.
where can I find a gun so I can just go home and be with dad?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I mean, the thing to understand is, we talked about it, right? Millionaires are made in recessions. What goes up must come down, right? And at the end of
Mhm.
the day, when you look at the economy is made up of sectors. And so while you're looking at index funds, I wouldn't tell anyone don't invest in index fund because if you invested in an oil index fund at the beginning of the year, you're already up 82%. right? So if you go with the blanket, oh, don't invest in index funds, you'd have missed out on 82% gain when the rest of the market went down like 24%. I think it's hovering at 16% now that it's down.
Right.
But that's why, everybody's investment style is going to be different. Their risk tolerance is going to be different. What they're interested in for the long term is going to be different. So I would never say like at a blanket statement not to. What I will say, Rick alluded to it at the top of the conversation, was, spending time on CNBC, going to the library or getting an audiobook and just understanding, the different market dynamics, because a lot of this is history, repeating itself and understanding the cycles of the economy.
My Zoom stock is down 50%.
Oh, yeah.
So I belong to two organizations. One's called Better Investing. They are like kind of the pioneers of the club investing, or yeah, I guess you call it club investing,
group
investment,
investing.
yeah, group investing. And then from that, there's a spinoff, from the entertainment industry. There's a spinoff called Manifest Investing, and they're a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have bull sessions every week. I'm on them every week. I listen. Right. If I can, I catch the rerun on YouTube. It's on YouTube, folks. So the free bull sessions are on YouTube, Manifest Investing. And they basically create their own index funds in that they invest in a lot of different companies themselves. They don't do mutual funds per se. If you don't want to do a lot of homework and you want to be diverse, index funds are your thing. You still have to do some homework.
Yeah.
And make sure that the index fund has a good track record and this and that and the other, and that they're not charging you exorbitant fees. But for us, they say, oh, I know what I brought this up. On Manifest Investing, one of the guys said, they were listening to a seminar and they said Black people tend to pull out of the market when it's down.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I've done it. Yeah.
I didn't, because I didn't know how to. So I left it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. I didn't know how to. So I just let it ride.
Well,
let it ride. Let it ride.
And a lot of times too in investing is you don't lose until you sell.
Exactly.
If it's down, at some point it's going to come back.
Yeah.
The market always rebounds. But people, and we, we're all guilty of it. We get caught up in, I'm losing money. Losing money. You're not losing money.
No.
Those are paper losses.
Those are paper losses.
Yeah.
And until you actually turn around and sell that at a loss. So, you hold on to it. And if you're nervous, Nelly, don't look at the market.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, I stopped looking. When it started going down, I just stopped looking. It was still, all the auto stuff was still happening.
Well, when we were in Mexico, I looked at an account. It was getting up to, I said, I'm getting ready to get back up to 3,000. And now it's back down to 18. But the stock that I own and the things that I invest in, I haven't lost that. I've lost value in it.
But you still own 5 shares. You still own 10 shares.
Well, some of them split.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's been happening a lot.
Some of the stuff split and stuff like that at a lower cost or a lower price point. But still, I got more stock.
Exactly.
And I just leave it alone. Now, in 2000, when we went to Mexico, was it 2021?
Yeah, it was up to 6,000.
It was up to $6,000.
This is a very small investment.
A very small investment, which wasn't nowhere. I mean, I think I started out with $1,000.
Wow.
And it went up to $6,000 during the pandemic and everything, because everything was going crazy.
We should have sold.
I think it's going to do better, but it dropped down and then it comes back up and then it drops down. I'm fine with it. I look at it and say, okay.
Yeah, but
going about my business.
Like we said at the very beginning, had I not left that original 401k from when I worked in venture capital, had I not left that original one alone, we would not be retired right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where, financial literacy is so important. Tuning out the noise and not, buying into the hype and the fear factor. And that just, and then time in the market,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Staying in the market,
Yes.
not falling into like the fear factor and the, oh my God, I'm losing money, because you can't touch it anyway.
You can't touch it.
Right. Right.
So you're
Right.
not
Right.
losing anything and you can't touch it anyway, so you might as well let it run. But again, from speaking from experience, and I have no shame in saying it, right? Like, it is part of the journey, and understanding what you did wrong allows you to come at a place of knowledge, build that muscle and learn and move on from there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So, as far as investing is concerned, I do have an investing FAQ. It is down in the description. It's very, very basic. So, if you are trying to open up your first investment account and all you've done was do your 401k and do exactly what they told you to do, you're 30 years old, you do the 30-year thing, you're 40 years old, you do the 20-year thing, or whatever, this will give you some basics to open up your first investment account, brokerage account. If you don't have an IRA, that's probably a good thing to do, and get you started. So Deborah asks, are you concerned about Russian shutting off energy to UK this winter? No, because I'm not going to the UK. Are you going to the UK? I'm not. So I'm going to ask the general question, answer the general question. One of the reasons why we got residency in Mexico, permanent residency in Mexico, is because I don't know what Putin's doing. Portugal is our dream life as it stands today. What's Putin doing? We don't know. I know I don't want to come back to the US.
There you go.
So Mexico would be, where we would go if Putin starts acting like a zip damn fool. But hopefully he will be contained.
Well, and I was reading something about the two countries that the UK and other countries in Europe are looking at and wishing they would have done something with solar energy that Portugal and Spain put in place. So they didn't have to worry about energy issues and stuff like that. And I was just reading about that maybe a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And it's like the smart move that Portugal and Spain made is with solar energy that these other countries didn't do, that depend on Russian oil and stuff like that.
Of course, it's not as sunny in the UK.
No, plenty of sunshine in Portugal.
Yes. Coimbra has one of the oldest universities in all of Europe, right?
Yes.
730 years old. It's beautiful.
We've been there. It is so beautiful.
It is beautiful. Okay. Does it make sense to park money in a Portuguese bank account now while the euro is down? It does make sense to transfer your money strategically. So this is another thing. It costs to transfer money. So transfer it strategically, keeping in mind the fees that it costs to transfer, what you will have to pay for, like we're paying rent right now in Portugal, as well as making those strategic moves when the euro is down or the dollar is up, however you want to look at it. Absolutely. And parking it, I mean, they do have strong laws and things in place. So I'm not afraid of the money disappearing like some people are in some countries. But I don't like parking a lot of money with no interest being accumulated. And so this is the last question. So we're going to be able to wrap this thing up. Tanisha, is Roth or rollover IRA same or different? They are different, girlfriend. I'm going to tell you that my bank told me to roll over my 401k into an IRA, which I did, and then told me I could add after-tax money to that. No, that's not true. Do your homework, talk to a lot of people. Don't just assume that the person at the brokerage fund knows what the heck they're talking about. So now I've got to untangle a bunch of stuff. I'm not happy about that. And when I find out what I find out, I will let you know what I find out. Do you want to add to that, Chrishan?
No, I think you got it. Yeah, they are different.
Oh, This is nice to know. Thank you, V. One of our, I don't know that I've ever seen you in the live. I've always seen you in the comments, but have I seen you in the live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, hey, Portugal imported 2% of the total energy imports from Russia. Hey, now, that's right. That's right. Okay. So, we have a ready to retire toolkit that will talk about a lot of the stuff that Chrishan has been talking about today, as well as us. I put it up there. It is in the comments, ready to retire toolkit. This will walk you through doing some of this fire stuff that got us where we are. And I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you, in 3 years, we were ready to retire. Now, this obviously depends on if you had a 401k that, are we retired in the way Susie Orman would say? No, because we ain't got $4 million in the bank.
Or a television show.
Or a television show to pay us big money to tell you you ain't gonna never retire because you can't get $4 million in your account. So, the one thing that I will say is that you just can't save your way to it, because that's what we were doing. We
Mhm.
were trying to save
Yeah.
our way.
Yeah.
And so what helped was we took that big chunk of money that we had in our savings account and put it into the market as it was shooting up, right before it shot up.
Mhm.
And we turned around and were like, hey now. And that's what did it. So yes, we will be having a meetup in Portugal. I don't know when, y'all.
We got to get there, get settled. Uh,
Yes.
so, and that's planning and figuring out what we want to do, how we want to do, when we want to do it. Somebody like Chrishan might want to hold off till she gets there to see if
Oh
she wants
yeah,
to do one together,
I
collaborate. It's
would.
all
I'm
about that.
looking forward to the time when I can get there and we can all collaborate, because it's just,
There is some Black
ooh,
creative
Oh,
yes,
you got it.
energy in
wonderfulness.
Lisbon. We
Yes,
will be hopefully adding to that.
yes.
And it will be lovely to come all together with all of this creative energy and
Mhm.
see what we can do, right?
Absolutely.
We
Stronger
will be
together.
there. Our first show in Lisbon, Portugal will be on Rick's birthday.
Yay!
We will have Rich and Regular on. If y'all don't know who Rich and Regular is,
Yes,
check them out.
yes,
They have looks like they're developing some expat dreams here.
yes. That, and I've heard, I've followed them for a while, so I think they talk about, when they went to South Africa and their honeymoon, and I just love their content.
Yeah.
They're great people, and actually have their cashing out book on our summer reading list, Blaxit Global summer reading list.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're fun. They are so
So
much fun to talk to.
I
we
can't
will
wait. I'm going
be.
to definitely tune in for that one.
Yes. So excited. So excited. It's like full circle
Yes,
because they helped us on this journey. Like,
yeah,
especially their mindset stuff, right?
yes.
Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So, really excited about that. We're going to be listening to their new book, Cashed Out.
Yes, it's very.
Yeah. And so don't give it away yet. But before we hang up, we want you guys, all of you who do not know about Blaxit Global, Krishan, tell us again about Blaxit Global, what you have going on, what you have coming up
Yeah.
before we log out of here.
All right. Okay. So you can, well, right now we're still in pre-sale for the Blaxit Global Move Abroad course. So that pre-sale price changes on the 7th. I know a couple people registered today, so they're paying attention. So that will give you like A to Z to moving abroad, self-paced. There's videos, it's pre-recorded, so you'll have that. If you're looking for community, you can come into our Blaxit Global Passport community. It is not on social media, so we don't have to worry about bots and algorithms and all that other stuff. We do accountability workshops, or well, accountability meetings. We do workshops. We have sessions on expat taxes. I know a lot of our members are in the comments, so I'm awesome and happy that they're here. And I also do expat coaching. So I also see Francis in the comments. And so definitely take advantage of that, because, it's like, Rick and Halisi have said, having these conversations allows you to be inspired, but we also want you to take inspired action. So
Right.
regardless
Yes.
of whether or not your journey is, you know, 5 months from now, 5 years from now, everything that you consume and do today is going to
Help.
set you up for a better tomorrow. So I would love to
Yes.
see you inside. And listen to the Blaxit Global podcast. We're in hiatus right now because we're coming back with new content in January. I need to record season 5. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. And if you find this content interesting, please like this video so that YouTube knows it should put it out for more people. I want to end with this. You talked about stages of expat life
Mm-hmm.
that people go through, and you mentioned in passing kind of, you might get homesick.
Yeah.
So just explain to folks, because there is a notion that I just got to get there. I just got to get there. I just got to get,
Yeah.
especially for Black folks in the United States. I just got to leave the United States and I just got to get there, and then everything will be great.
Yeah.
Not
Definitely.
necessarily. There's
Not
stages.
necessarily. And I'll leave you with this because I hear my dog because she's hungry. So there's stages. You go from excitement to overwhelm, right? This is like, oh, is this possible? And then you think, oh, maybe. And then you go through the rabbit hole consuming content, right? Everything. And asking questions and all that is great. Then you move to the stage where you're finally doing it, and you get to, let's say, your destination country, whether it's short term or longer term. You go through culture shock, right? You might have to adapt to a new language, but at the very least, you're adapting to new customs and cultures, and all the senses are firing, and so that also can breed anxiety, but also second guessing. Did I do the right thing? Am I making the right decision? Am I homesick? And then after a period of time, that culture shock usually lasts a good year, maybe a little bit more, depending on the person,
Yeah.
and depending on if you're able to start to um, build and gain a community. But you move to the stage of acceptance, and I see that as like stage 3, where you've started to acclimate to your new land. You have a routine, where your grocery store is. You start to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Doesn't mean homesick doesn't happen. There's going to be big moments that you miss. I've had guests that have missed weddings and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
people are locked out of countries, right? There's certain
Right.
things that are out of your control, but you get to a point of acceptance, and that's where you hit that, like, I wouldn't say where the magic happens, because there's magic all along the journey, but I would say that is more or less the final stage for sure.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, thank you for that. And this is not the first time I've heard that, but I think it's really easy to get stars in your eyes and, oh, I'm going to be living this cafe life and just chilling and learning how to work a washing machine all over, an oven all over, and all of this other stuff, from scratch like a little kid is,
Mhm.
days can be stressful. It can be
Mhm.
stressful. But I am so excited.
Thank you.
Y'all,
Dude, this
right?
is
Yes.
great. Thank
We're
you
going
for
to do
having
this
me as a
thing.
guest. I
Yes.
can't wait till we're in Portugal together and we can sip some nice wine and,
Yes.
overlook and see all the beautiful landscape and
See each other in real life
right? Oh
and
my God.
do some group interviews. This should be fun.
Yes.
This
Lots
should be
of
so
ideas
fun.
going on.
Oh yes. Oh
And thank all of
yes.
you all that are watching, being here live, and those watching in the future.
Thank
It's
you.
been great.
It
Yes.
has been great. So like, subscribe,
Yes.
hit that notification bell. All of our super chat money goes to our scholarship fund
Scholarship fund.
for Beyond the Bling and our other coaching things. So, this is what we do here. This is what we do. We're about that expat dream and helping you live your best life. We love y'all. Chrishan, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.